This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to A Leopard on the Move, and a very warm welcome to you on this live safari. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a very chilly and cool morning here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we do believe we've bumped into Shadulu right out the gate, literally right out the gate. My name is Steve, joined by Davisita on camera. And boys and girls, please, can you send your questions through to kidquestions@wildearth.tv. We've got a female leopard, and we're going to follow. Now, we were busy helping. I was helping Trish get her car set up before, and I was just about to walk from Trish's car to mine, right by our camp, and I saw some spots out the corner of my eye, and it was Shadulu. She walked past me at our camp about 2 meters away. I think it's Shadulu. I'm almost certain, but we just need to double check. She is scent marking vigorously like a territorial leopard would do. But she's a very relaxed cat. Let me try to get around her over here. Sorry, Dolly, there we go. She's straight out the gate. She walked past us. I got Davy to jump on the vehicle with me quickly. And then she spent 5 minutes staring at... What have you got there, my girl? Oh, there's a hyena just ran across the road behind us. You can't see it, I'm afraid. That's what she looked at. Hyenas will follow these cats and cause them to run away. Don't run away, my darling. She's gone. She just got in here. Can you see her? Okay, she wants to get away from the hyena, because if the hyena follows her, it will, there's just here on the left, it will potentially steal any food she manages to catch. Now, she spent 5 minutes just before we went live trying really hard to catch a little scrub hare. She did everything right, and then her final sprint to catch it, the scrub hare, they are just so agile. The scrub hare did a left, a right, a left, a right, a flip, a twist, and was out of there. She's probably going to go back to the road. Maybe she's not. This is very awesome. Now, she's got a very specific look to her, Shadulu. And that was my first thought. And the spot pattern on the left-hand side of the face is right, is correct. It's the 4 with the 1 on top. And maybe some of you viewers out there who've been spending time with the show can remind me. The right one is 4 with 1 on. No, 3 with 1 on top. Any of our long-standing viewers who remember these cats, just double check. I'm almost 100% sure it's Shadulu, but it's nice to be able to get a second opinion. Okay, she's going to go straight back onto the road. Very good. Well, it seems like TAYLA McCurdy's up and mobile in the cold, and she's already got a lion for you.
What an unbelievable start. We're sitting here at Pridelands, and if you joined us yesterday on the Sunset Safari, you'll know what happened. But basically, some lions took down a buffalo and have been feasting on it all night and have managed to hold onto the carcass and not let the thieving hyenas come in and steal it from them. Good morning again. My name is TAYLA McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and we're broadcasting here live at Pridelands, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, there's quite a few things happening here. The hyenas are still sort of circling. They come through, they have a little look around, see if there's anybody paying attention to the carcass, and if they're not, they're going to run in and try and eat it. Last night I did listen at about 2 o'clock in the morning or so, and I could hear the hyenas whooping frantically, maybe trying to call in some more members, but they have got empty bellies. They're playing the patience game. Here you can see that young male lion just lifting his head slightly. Just smelling the air. This is one of the males of the coalition, and he is the one that has an injured back leg. We don't really know what happened to him. We suspect he was maybe given a bit of a hiding from some bigger males, because they keep going back to the pride where they've come from, but they're obviously a little bit too old to be hanging around there. It's time for them to disperse. But they're not willing to leave just yet. And there's another lion here, which you cannot see. You maybe remember seeing her last night. It's a young lioness, which also comes from the Ngati pride. And then, I know, right, just when you thought it can't get any more exciting, is just before the show started, we could hear roaring just north of us in Jajani. So I don't know who's coming this side, but the roars definitely sounded like they were getting closer. So we shall see if they sort of wander on down to this buffalo carcass. Can hear baboons alarming now just north of us. I don't think you'll be able to hear it. It's probably too far away, but I'm just keeping an ear out. He's not really responding though. He's listening. He hasn't turned around, with fear in his eyes. If it is the lionesses, where they're sort of the pride that they come from, the Ngati pride, that'll be great. I'm sure that they could do with a feed. Those have been the girls that we were seeing. And it didn't sound like big, sort of boisterous roars. Maybe it is them just trying to figure out where everyone is. But he's lovely. He's got the most piercing eyes, and I'm sure that you'll all agree. Like I said, he's quite easy to tell the difference between his coalition member, his brother. Not whether they're blood brothers, I'm not so sure, but they definitely come from the same pride. You can see his ears are very tatty, and he's got a mohawk sort of mane that stands up, and then he has a bit of a limp, which I'm hoping will go away. But if we're a little bit worried about them trying to get a meal, I think when that adrenaline kicks in, anything is possible. And when you're hungry, you'll do whatever it takes. Now, young Chanel, I think that these two male lions, I know we're only looking at one now, I think that he might be between 4 and 5. He's somewhere sort of between that. He hasn't quite got a full mane just yet, but sometimes male lions' manes don't get particularly big. I actually saw that in Zambia, where a lot of the males' manes look kind of like this. But when he's opened his mouth, you can see how white his teeth are, and he's just a youngish boy. When he gets to about in the next year and a half or so, you'll see that mane will go all the way over his shoulders and down towards his elbow. But he's still got a bit of growing to do. And even when you look at their tracks, they're big, but they're not big, fully grown 8-9-year-old male lion footprint sizes. So they've got a lot of muscle to still put on. They need to sort of fill out a little bit. So they're kind of in their teenage stage, they're a little bit awkward. I think they've been feeding throughout the night. What can you see, Gert? Hyena. Okay. Gert has spotted some hyena. Maybe he can see them from where he is. We'll have a look with the camera now. Thank you. Gert is positioned so high up onto the vehicle, he can see so much more. Oh, you're right. Oh, that's why I can't see you, is because you're behind this corkwood. Hello. Being very sneaky. We counted a whole bunch of hyena as we came in, just sitting out on the plains behind us. And there were also some of the younger hyenas, the hyenas that I suspect are somewhere between, they're more probably about 8 or 9 months old, something like that, maybe even a little bit older than that. But they've been brought out to the kill too, which is lovely. So I hope that they also get an opportunity to feed on this carcass. This is another one of the members of the Pridelands clan. I'm so excited. Every time I see one, I just snap a photo. And now the next thing that I'm going to have to do is, at some point, when I repair my computer, sit and try and figure out who is who, and start at least, you know, putting all the photos of the same individual into one folder, and then we can hopefully decide on some names. There's even another hyena coming through at the back. That's what that hyena is looking at. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It might just be behind the branches of this velvet-leafed corkwood. That's the tree that is toppled on over here. Come on, bring in your friends. So with all the calling last night, they could... Oh, there's another one behind us. Look at them, they're coming really close now. Tamara, hyenas are beautiful. Thank you very much for saying that. Gert's going to try and show you another one. It might be difficult for him to turn because it's right behind the car, but I just want to show you how close these hyenas come to us. Oh, there we go. Thank you, hyena, for walking into frame. Hello. Oh, got a fright. This one's got like a triangle on its left, sort of between its neck and its shoulder. That's quite a unique marking, so that's what we're looking for when we're IDing hyenas. They don't have spot patterns on their whisker line like lions and leopards do. So we'll look for some unique markings. So I think that that triangle on the shoulder is a nice way to remember who that hyena is. So like I said, it would be a great help. It's very difficult for me to try and photograph while we are live. So I am going to go through Twitter and look at all your screenshots, or if you post on the various Facebook pages, that'll be fantastic. And collectively we can all try and put them together. Very well. Well, we're definitely not going anywhere. We're going to sit here and see what else happens. Off you go to Rowan, who's back in the vehicle and ready to go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this side of the Sunrise Safari from and beyond Ngala with me, Rowan, and Odie behind the camera. It's very chilly, it's very cold. It's 6 degrees Celsius this morning, so driving around in this probably takes it down to about 1 degree. We are following tracks of a pride of lions, most likely Birmingham Pride, but it could also be the Mberry Pride. I know the Mberry Pride were close to Open Camp last night, but then so were the Birminghams. So I've seen the tracks. I've just been a little bit too lazy to get out and actually see if there are any tracks of youngsters. Of course, only the Birmingham Pride has youngsters with them, no youngsters in the Mberry Pride. It's just that on a cold morning like today, I found my hotspot. You know, when you're sleeping in winter time and you don't actually want to move around your bed, because if you move side to the left or slightly right, there's a cold spot. So I found my hotspot here. My blankie is wrapped around my legs, and I don't actually want to leave the vehicle just yet. So I'm just looking down every now and then to see if we can find more tracks of this pride of lions. So it seemed like they came from the east and heading west. Last night, the Rossmale that Barney found in the morning, you could hear him roaring and actually coming closer and closer towards camp, so he was coming east. I want to see if they met up. And then maybe a little bit later, we'll go towards the Nyala female, see if she's still with her carcass. So fingers crossed, it could be a phenomenal day. If only it starts warming up soon. Whew. And it's Emma's birthday today in Final Control. So she said she'll make a birthday cake and send it over to us. Lovely, Emma. Happy birthday. Oh. Owen is going to town today to buy gloves. So he's just been complaining about how sore his fingers are, having to maneuver the camera every time. You can see he's changing hands. So one hand is in the pocket, then he moves the camera, and then after a while he'll change his hand, put the other hand in the pocket. I have offered him gloves, but he's too proud to take them. Very chirpy birds in the morning. Everyone's saying it looks pretty cold with my beanie and my cap. Of course, this is how we start morning safari. I don't usually look like this. It's just the speaker is in the cap. So I have to wear the cap and the beanie, of course. Otherwise, my ears would be very red and they would look terrible on camera, I think. Some fresh elephant tracks here. See, on top of genet tracks. So genet is a very nocturnal little animal. Alrighty, so for now we're going to send you over to Steve, who's already got a leopard, and apparently she's walking towards him.
Thanks, Rowan. Well, we do indeed. And she's been posing beautifully on a termite mound, and now she's on the move once again. Very vigorous scent marking. Now, boys and girls, you might want to know what I mean by scent marking. Well, these big cats, they use their urine, which has got a very particular smell, to mark their territory. Oh, she spotted something. We're in the perfect spot to see it. Let's watch the tail. It's got a mind of its own. Watch this. This is real, live leopard hunting activity. I can't see what she can see. I think she's hiding from something. That's my leg, Shadulu. It just walked right past me. I think there might be something of danger there to her. Maybe the hyena. Or maybe something else. I didn't see it. She might be going around it. Now she's just sitting by the tree. Ooh, there's some impalas over there. Why don't you want the impalas, Shadulu? Whole herd of impala over there. But she didn't want it. Maybe it's because she knows that the hyena is right behind her, tracking her. And if she kills one of these, it'll make a noise, and she's doing the crazies. She's on a little bit of a crazy mission. No, don't go in there. Please don't go in there. She takes us on a little wild chase to here. This is not going to be fun. Okay, well. Okay, so we're going to have to go, everybody. Let's follow her into the block. Hello, Lise, age 11. Well, a male and female leopard, when they become adults, are extremely territorial. The territory is designed to provide them with enough food within the area for them to have babies. And the male will have a territory that has 3 females in it, and obviously a few of the youngsters as well. And the purpose of being territorial is to allow any animal that comes along your smell to go, oh, hang on, this is occupied. If I go in here, I'm going to have to fight. But if I go in here, oh, something spotted it to the right here. If I go in here and I behave like not a territorial animal, well, then I will be able to get past no problem. So territory, although it sounds like a lot of energy, actually saves them an enormous amount of energy. Male impalas here have spotted her, and she's been spotted, so she's going to just keep walking. That is the alarm calls we're always listening out for. It's a nasal shout from the impala, and they'll actually keep following. You see, they'll keep following until they lose sight of her, because they don't want to. Because as soon as they lose sight of her, she becomes dangerous again. The purpose of alarm... Well, we heard you. The purpose of alarm calls is to advertise that the predator has been seen, and it often moves off because their camouflage and stealth has now gone. So she looks like she's doing a big loop around to maybe try and come at those first impala from a different angle. We're just going to be aware of that. Aware of her route. She's going back to the road. Some very strange noises coming from over there. Okay, well, we've got noises of our own to deal with. Following a leopard sometimes like this through the long grass is tricky. Okay, very good. Well, Taylor's got some action this morning. Let's send you back over to her. It's happening.
Not quite at the carcass, but we've got some other things waking up. Sorry, I thought I heard a lion roar. I'm not sure what that sound was, so that's why I paused briefly. But here we have a white-backed vulture perched up in the tree. It's actually just woken up, because if you'd seen it earlier, you would have thought it was a headless vulture, as it had its head tucked underneath its wings, trying to keep nice and warm. Can you imagine sitting up on the top of that very tree for the entire night? And it got cold last night. I think the temperature reached about 6 degrees Celsius at one point. I know lots of you are thinking that's not very cold. But for us up here where the weather is so much warmer, it's basically below freezing. And I think that this vulture agrees. You can see not wanting to expose its bare neck has got it retracted all the way in. But at least it's got some nice sunshine beaming down on its feathers. I think vultures must be the most patient of all the animal species, more patient than hyenas, because they just sit up here perched on a branch, not eating anything, waiting and waiting for the big predators to move away so that they can have a chance. Sorry, Mr. or Mrs. White-backed vulture, there's very little sexual dimorphism, so be able to tell the differences between the boys and the girls. I don't think you're going to win here, because as soon as the lions leave, the hyenas are going to come on through. But we'll see what happens a little bit later. Maybe this afternoon. I don't think that these lions are ready to leave the carcass just yet. There's actually not so much vulture activity right now. There are just a couple of them. There's the white-backed vulture that we've seen. We've seen some hooded vultures, which are smaller species of vulture that sort of come around. They're normally one of the first of the vultures to arrive. And just a couple of them scattered about. But I think as the day starts to warm up and more vultures take to the air to try and catch thermals, they will definitely spot what's going on and come and join the scene. And then that's when I think the excitement will start, if these lions manage to hold on to their buffalo kill. Is that other animals, like other more hyenas, maybe even a leopard, but definitely other lions, and those ones that are calling not too far away, are going to see the vultures diving down. And hopefully they come charging into the scene too to do a bit of investigating. This is the action that we're hoping for, and that I will wait for all morning long, if it means that I have to sit here for that amount of time. No, head back under the feathers, not quite ready to wake up just yet. That was like me this morning. I did that a couple of times until I absolutely had to get out of bed. Just because I was cold, not because I wasn't excited about coming on safari. I'm always excited about coming on safari. Even the hyenas have decided to sit down and have a bit of a nap. I think they've been busy for most of the morning. Sassy Kathy, I agree. I think the vulture must be cold to some degree, but we were talking about the feathers that they have. So remember, vultures have to fly at incredibly high heights. You know, thousands and thousands of feet. It gets chilly up there. I think it's freezing in comparison to the temperatures down here on the ground. So, like I said, I was explaining the other morning to all the lovely children that are watching that they've got special feathers that allow them to trap all that air, warm air inside and keep them nice and warm when they fly at very high altitudes. So it's like they have like a minus 25-degree sleeping bag. Kind of, not really, but it's sort of that thing. So they'll keep nice and warm. Gone back to bed. Gert, can we have a look at that other vulture? It's not the best view of it, unfortunately, because the marula tree that it is sitting in, there's a couple of branches on its face, but you can kind of see the size difference. It's quite drastic, actually, as to how small the hooded vultures are. No, untuck your head. Oh, you're preening yourself. That's okay. So there we go. You can see the hooded vulture. Got a little bit of sort of pink facial skin, but the thing that I noticed straight away is the size of its beak. You see that? Look how much smaller its beak is in comparison to the white-backed or the Cape vultures, or even the lappet face, which has got a very broad bill. So it hasn't got a beak that is strong enough to be able to tear into the tough hide of something like a buffalo. But that beak does the job. And it's amazing how all these different animals just around this carcass play a very important role in the ecosystem. Right, I think it's time that you actually see what the sun looks like this morning. Let's head over to TRISHALA, who's in Djuma.
It is finally the sun, and speaking of sleeping bags with TAYLA, I am wrapped in one this morning. It's so chilly. It's 7 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and yes, when BK comes back to me, you'll see my sleeping bag. Look, I look like a Michelin man. My name is TRISHALA, and I've got BK on camera this morning. Very cold indeed, but I'm so glad to see the sun and the beautiful grass and trees. Everything's just touched by this awesome winter warmth, which I just love. But we need to listen out. There's wild dogs in the north. And as you know, Steve has Shidulu, who walked right by us at camp, by the way. I'm sure he would have told you. But I think this morning is going to be quite a fantastic one. So we're going to get going and look for tracks and maybe head a little bit south. Steve is currently in the west, so let's go south, see what we can find. Hopefully it'll be a really nice cat day. That's what I hope for, at least. So far, I'm seeing hyena tracks. Guys, still been checking all the dens, haven't seen anything. So we've just got to remember that it has been particularly cold. And maybe that's just the reason we're not seeing them at the den for now. Lisa, you'd like to know if it's ever snowed in Djuma. It has not snowed in Djuma, but it has snowed on the mountains nearby. Generally in South Africa, the snow tends to fall around mountains or exceptionally in places of high altitude, but that's it. And most of the... I stand to be corrected. In Johannesburg, I'm not sure how long ago, but maybe 10 years ago or something like that, it did snow. I don't know if that classifies as snow. It was icy, and definitely it was collecting what appeared to be snow, but I don't know if anyone actually saw snow fall, you know what I mean? That being said, I've never seen snow actually fall either. The only time I've seen really thick snow was at a mountain in Australia near Melbourne when I went to play in the snow. And I saw a wombat playing in the snow too, which was the highlight of my snow trip. maybe you guys can send me some pictures of your beautiful snow, especially if it's falling. I really want to see snow fall. Most of South Africa is very warm. There are a few areas like Tswalu and around the Kimberley that gets very, very cold in the winter. I'm sure Dylan will tell you about it if he hasn't already. But those same areas, like the Kalahari, get very, very warm as well. Sorry guys, I seem to have dropped off the planet for that moment, but I'm back. I am. And we're going to go find something special. I'm going down south because it's good to check the tracks of any animals that may have come into the property, just to give us something to focus on and work on. Also, the lions have been taking a very particular route through Juma these days, so I want to go check that out. I also don't want to drive too fast, so that next segment you don't come to me as an icicle. No tracks just yet. All right, some exciting stuff have been happening in our other feeds, so why don't you go over and have a look at what TAYLA has been seeing.
Trish, I really hope that you do not turn into an icicle. That would be terrible. We've just heard some more lions roaring in the distance. It does sound like it's getting closer. I think it's the girls. I think it is the Ngati pride of lionesses that are slowly making their way in this direction. They sounded initially like they were further west, but now they seem to be moving a little bit to the east. And the boys don't respond much. That male laying back on the other side, I can't see the other boy. He's just hiding behind the grass. They sort of, they lifted their heads half-heartedly. They weren't particularly interested. But the young lioness that unfortunately you cannot see, she did poke her head up and she looked quite excited. So maybe she'll be happy to rejoin with the rest of the pride. I don't know why she's living on her own either, but we shall discuss that. Hopefully the rest of the lions come through and then we can see the dynamics quite nicely. So I won't be speculating because I haven't really spent much time with these lions at all. Lion, are you having a nice dream? Looks like there's also an injury on that front left paw. I think it is. It looks like there might be, or is it just your toe? It's difficult to see. They're a little bit far away in the grass. But this boy has definitely been battered. What is that? Is it just, no, it's not his toe. Shame. He's got a couple of scratches. You can see, almost looks like claw marks on his paws, which would suggest, sorry, as Trishala is freezing, my words are not coming out today. When lions fight, when big male lions will fight one another, even lionesses, they obviously swipe one another with their paws, and they'll often stand up on their back legs and take as many swipes as they can. However, occasionally the odd claw hooks on to the skin. There we go. You can see that wound that I'm talking about over there, just as he moves his paw. Yes, please lift your paw up so we can see. You can also see the scratches on his face. That's most certainly from claws. Though those claws are kept nice and sharp in a sheath. And when they do come out, whew, good luck. You know, slice through you. So those are normal sort of injuries. Not anything that you need to worry about. It's just a typical lion, a lion injury. But he's surviving. You know, these animals are tough. We mustn't forget how strong and resilient wild animals are. You know, they live out in the harshest of harsh conditions. Not like us. You know, as humans, privileged humans, we're quite pampered. Living the way that we do. These guys have to really rough and tough it out here. So this carcass is sitting out in the open. There is no cover over it whatsoever. I wonder if they will drag it and just tuck it underneath a tree slightly. Because, I mean, even if an aeroplane were to fly over and people were to look out the window, they'd see this carcass. That's how exposed it is. But we will see. We will see what they get up to. Maybe they just feel like they're so brave that they don't need to hide it. Erica, this lion does indeed have a lot of character. We were talking about earlier, I don't know if you caught it when he had his head up, he's got the most piercing gold eyes. He's actually a very sort of attractive lion, even though he's in his awkward stages. And he is quite battered and beaten up, but I think a lot of those scars will heal and won't even be noticeable once their hair grows back over it. He will have those tatty ears, however, and I hope that that limp recovers, because they're not small lions. They're definitely of a substantial size, but they need a little bit of time to mature still. So they need to behave and not do so much roaring and just live quietly in the corners. Otherwise, other bigger males, and big male lions can come in from anywhere. They can come in from Jajani, from Baluli, they can come in from the Kalahari, which they could come in from the Timbavati. We know how male lions like to travel, and if they hear that this beautiful big open space that is Pridelands is not really occupied by any residents other than the two big males that occasionally poke their nose in here, they could move on in. I mean, for example, you can take the Birmingham Pride, the Birmingham males that are now living down in the southern sections of the Sabi Sand. They came all the way from Ngala, from that pride, with the white lions. So they originate from there, and they've moved all the way through the Manyuleti into the northern Sabi Sand, where Wild Earth was able to watch them come into their prime and take over the northern Sabi Sands territory for a number of years before moving south. So we could literally see any lions here. So we're going to be doing lots of hard work. As soon as I get decent internet access, I'm going to be scouring all the social media pages, looking at all the big male lions in the Timbavati, or mainly I'll probably start with the Kalahari, with Jajani and Baluli, and then sort of work on around. So I'm excited to be able to spend some time doing some investigating work, which is quite nice. And I know that all of you love enjoying that too, so please feel free to get involved. It's quite a big job trying to ID all the different animals, but I must say thank you to all of you who have helped me and sent me private messages and trying to help us here at Eco Training put together a great ID kit so that we can continue telling the tall tales that develop on this property. Buffalo still hasn't woken up yet. Of course, he's going to sleep forever in a deep slumber. Ooh, I love that all the kids are excited to help with the IDs. It's a fun game to play. There we go. For the parents who have not sent their kids back to school just yet, there we go. Shall we print out a whole bunch of images, of screenshots that you've taken, and get all the children to match up the spots? I know that I'd be very appreciative of it, so please get involved. There's a fun educational way, if you're running out of things to do. So we can go through and try and ID them. I think the hyena IDing is probably going to be my favorite, because like I said, you have to look for really interesting patterns on their bodies. And of course, we talk about you can use any scars, or if they're blind in one eye or missing a tooth, if they're kind enough to open their mouths and let us inspect their teeth. So we will start doing that. I've got a couple of photos as well that I need to sort out, but it is difficult. Finally, the lioness is coming to join the young male. Hello, girlie. Sorry, that's such a South African thing to say, girlie. She's little, so she's not quite a woman just yet. Sorry, I'm not going to move the car because I know she's going to step into frame eventually. Come on, a few more steps. Thank you, lovely lass. There she is. Look how little she is. She can't be more than just over a year. I honestly don't know why she has left the pride. I don't know if she maybe felt pressure from when the males that have come in from Kalahari and It sounds like the males have actually eaten 2 of the lionesses from the Ngati Pride. One happened on Kwenga, which is a property we can also traverse on, just a little bit to the east of us, and then one just outside of our traverse. These are accounts that were recorded by some other people just in the area that gave us this information. So I don't know if that frightened her to the point that she ran away and just thought, no, I'm not coming home anymore. But she literally lives between Leopard Dam, and there's a section in this drainage line called Tamboti Pans, and she goes towards HQ, which is an old house that was here many, many years ago. And she just goes up and down. And she catches impala and young wildebeest and all sorts of unsuspecting things. So she's doing well. And I think that she must be related to these lions, these male lions somehow. Because she's not ready to mate just yet. She's still too young. So they must know one another. It's not the first time I've actually seen something like this. But we can discuss that a little bit later. Now, speaking of the Birmingham Pride, Rowan is doing exactly that. He's searching for those lions. Fingers crossed that he finds them.
I also think, I'm not sure yet, I think Birmingham Pride. So what we're going to do is we're going back to their last tracks, and I'll actually get off and take a good look at the tracks. From there, what I might do is do to Sean what he always does to me and leave him there so he can track lions, and then we'll drive around and go see what the Nyala female is up to, if she's managed to finish that carcass, or maybe if she's still there, still feeding on the carcass. As you can see, the sun has come out quite nicely. Now it is slowly, very slowly, but surely warming up, finally. Thanks, OD. Go up this. So this area that we just drove here is called Cement Crossing. I wonder if any of you can guess why. No, it's not because it's cemented. The guy who built it, his name was Cement. So we called the crossing after him. Actually, rather ironic. I'm speeding up a little bit, but regretting it every time. Thank you, everyone. Everyone says they have faith in me that I'll be able to track down an animal soon. I'm just letting it warm up a little bit, and then we'll actually start working. Like I was saying, I'm speeding up a little bit, but every single time I do it, I regret it a little bit, and I can actually feel Odie is also cold right behind me. But we are nearly at the last tracks, and we'll actually jump off and just take a good look at the tracks, try to determine whether it's Birmingham Pride or Mbiri Pride. But luckily they came from the east and they're heading west, so they are definitely on and beyond Ngala somewhere. We just need to track them down. Alrighty, sounds like it's just as cold at Djuma, and Steve's having exactly the same struggles as us trying to keep warm, but we're going to send you back over to him.
Thanks, Rowan. Well, I'm doing quite well in the warm department. We were trying to follow her just after you left us, and then we got stuck quite badly on a log. We had to jack ourselves off, and now we've lost her. We used the jack to lift the car up and roll the car off of the stump that got caught on. So, we can't find the tracks coming out of here, so we're going to give it one more chance. One more chance. I don't think she's come out. That's okay. when she went in, we thought, oh, please don't go in there. That's not the nicest of blocks. But she loves to go onto termite mounds. So we're just driving around to see if maybe she's just sitting top of a termite mound. Tammy, I'm glad you can see the humor in it. We were stumped. I thought initially we might have a bit of trouble. But thankfully the vehicle was on a slight slope, so we just jacked up the front and the car rolled off of the stump got caught between the wheel axle and the front protector. We went over it. We sat on the stump like that. Initially I thought we were going to be in a bit of trouble, but thankfully the high lift jack, and bear in mind, boys and girls, if you ever use a high lift jack, it needs adult supervision. They are very, very dangerous pieces of equipment to be used with respect. See, many people hurt themselves with high lift jacks. Okay, well, she hasn't come out here. I think she's still in the block. We're going to go back that way and carry on with our morning. How does that sound, everybody? Oh, very good. Well, Taylor McCurdy's got a great sighting for you, and I'm sure you're enjoying it with her.
Oh, there's nothing worse than getting a log stuck under your vehicle. I've had my fair share. So we had an update. Not that I saw it, but the reserve warden of this area was driving around, and he said that he had spotted 2 lionesses and 2 very big male lions that just crossed into Tshijani, which is literally just north of us. So those roars must have been coming from them. Now, who knows, maybe they do a loop and keep coming in this direction, but that means that these males need to be very careful, because the 2 big boys that have come from the Kalahari are back in town, and that can only mean trouble for them. They definitely will not be very happy that they're here. But welcome back to all our viewers. Please remember to send your questions through now, #WildEarth, or comment away on the various social media platforms. But it was great to have all the kids this morning. They saw lots of wonderful wildlife, and I look forward to answering their questions again this afternoon. Right, this is good news. So he's woken up from his slumber. You saw him do a nice big yawn. He's licking his paws. I think he might be licking that wound that he has on there, which is good. I know it sounds silly to you and I, hey? We wouldn't lick your cut if you had a cut to keep it clean. But unfortunately, there's no Dettol Savlon to keep their wounds clean out here. So the best thing to do is just to make sure that there's no dirt inside there all the time. And the only way that they can do that is by constantly licking. There you can see, and I'm sure he opens it up a little bit when he does that. It looks a little bit raw. But the flies must be quite annoying. I think that the lions, or any animal actually that has some kind of an injury, an open wound on their bodies, must really look forward to the evenings, as all those pesky flies go and rest somewhere. Now you can see that wound exposed quite a bit. Giving himself a good groom. Now, these lions are not going to move away from their kill. So yes, Perlin, if they leave the kill, we've obviously seen hyenas, we've seen the vultures, they are not going to wait a second. They will charge on in, and between the birds and the hyenas, well, not all the birds, of course, just the vultures, they will devour this carcass within minutes, or a little bit longer than minutes, but the lions have put a fairly big dent on it. So it's not really ideal if they move away. And then with all that commotion, can you imagine? Those 2 big male lions and the lionesses would definitely hear the hyenas sort of squabbling, and the vultures make a fair bit of noise around a carcass too. And they've got unbelievable hearing, and they would be here in a jiffy. So it's not a good idea to move away like that. Sometimes what they will do is, if their carcass is out in the sun, they might go and rest up underneath a shady tree. But if they sit too far away, it's a problem. But that's why I was wondering if these boys are maybe going to drag it somewhere. You'll always see the lionesses, they want to hold on to their meal and have their meal for as long as possible. I suppose the males do it too, but they'll normally just tuck it under a little shrub, so it's not so noticeable. But they've got very, very full bellies, but you've got to keep those topped up because you never know when your next meal is going to be. So I'm hoping that once he finishes grooming himself, he's done his paws. You can see he was doing sort of higher up on his legs and cleaning his mane now. Catfish, we've seen some interesting things actually on Wild Earth over the years. And there's actually been some sort of highlights, some stories done on them. It'd be nice for you to go back and have a look. One thing that we did get to see, speaking about pests and parasites, is basically from a botfly or blowflies. There's a variety of different species of flies. Sometimes what happens is they end up laying their eggs in the wounds of animals. Now, it's quite common amongst domestic animals, so goats, sheep, and cows, and things like that. But you get something called myiasis, and you get 3 different types of myiasis. So accidental, when a fly maybe accidentally lays its eggs in a wound of an animal, and then you get obligatory, which is the parasite, well, the fly will lay its eggs in there, and the larvae needs to eat living flesh to survive, so they do it on purpose. That you typically see a lot with domesticated animals. And then you get facultative, where it just sort of happens, but it's not necessary for that the larvae, once it hatches, to eat the live flesh. So we got to see that with the lion in the Birmingham Pride. We were just talking about him, Big Coalition, and Mfumo. He got it, where we actually watched a wound on his face that we suspect may have been caused from being swiped at by either one of his coalition members or a lioness from the Nkuhuma Pride. And we watched the maggots move around in it. They ate the dead flesh, and then they sort of fell out of his face. It was quite gross and disgusting. So that's something that all animals have to be aware of, which is why he's going to constantly keep that wound clean. It's not great. It's really not nice. But then, and of course, there's lots of biting flies. You get louse flies, which are horrible looking things. They're like horse flies on steroids. Here we don't have any tsetse flies, but tsetse flies can be a big pain, especially when you move up into Zambia or Tanzania. They're absolutely horrific. And then I'm sure they get a variety of worms, so tapeworms, so a variety of trematodes and things like that will probably live inside. But parasites are normal, even us as humans, we have all sorts of mites and things like that living on us, even though we don't want to admit it. But with lions and stuff like that, there'll be probably some kind of intestinal parasite that's living internally. Can you hear the jackal? There's a jackal now calling in the distance. And that's like a whine, like I've seen a predator. So that'll be somebody else that could be coming on in this way, and maybe a jackal is following it. Wah, wah. That's what you're sort of hearing. It's quite far away, but maybe they'll come this way too. Anyway, so you can go on and on about parasites. But the interesting thing is that there are some parasites that actually depend on their host. Like, they cannot live anywhere else other than a specific species. So that happens quite often as well. So if you get rid of, say, a mammal species, then you could also get rid of all the parasites and things that live in there. He's very sore. That paw that he was licking, that left paw, I think, is also quite sore. I think he's got a couple of injuries. But he'll heal up. Now that he's got a big full belly, that's definitely going to be a good dose of medicine. And it is nice to see that he is constantly taking care of himself. I think the problem comes in, and it becomes hard to recover when you haven't got anything to eat and you don't want to waste any energy on keeping yourself clean. Now, I know I've been complaining about the cold this morning, and so has Trishala, but somebody that's really cold is probably Dylan and Jeandre in Tswalu Kalahari.
And good morning again to all of you. It is fantastic having you with us always. For those of you who are new to us, my name is Dylan, and Jean-Ray on camera work there, he's the one that keeps it all together. And we are in Tswalu Kalahari this morning. It is a cold morning. It's a very cold morning. The sun's going to be out in probably another 15-20 minutes. But we've got something special. For those of you who really enjoy the meerkats, and I know I do, our meerkat habituators have actually been following up on one of our habituated groups that's been kind of AWOL for the past couple of days. And why I wanted to actually get up to them once I found them is that the alpha female is heavily pregnant. So we're giving the Khosa group, Mosadi and her group, a bit of time on their own there. The meerkat habituators, they will keep on checking on them every single day. They're super relaxed. They seem to have settled really nicely into that new burrow system. So yeah, let's see what develops that side. But then in the meantime, we've got this new burrow system. It's actually quite small compared to the other ones that we've been seeing, and you can see the extent of it here. Although the mounds of sand, the actual mounds of sand, are considerably larger. So I think the system underneath here is quite extensive. But the fact that the habituators have said she's heavily pregnant, I think it's going to be very fun, very exciting to keep tabs on this. And we won't necessarily be coming to them every single day, because there's a lot of other things out here that I really want to show you. But we'll just keep a close eye on this group, and I think it's going to be very fun to watch over the coming weeks. Jean-Ray and I, we're obviously on high alert about any sign of badger activity, and we haven't seen anything around these burrows. So I'm very, very pleased about that, although I would never object to seeing a honey badger. But I think at the meerkats, I think we can give that a skip for the moment. In the meantime, I think let's head over to Juma while Jean-Ray and I try to find ways of keeping warm here and see what they got down that side.
Oh, if I thought my perils in freezing or anything, it's nothing compared to what Dylan's must be at the moment. Well, here we have a starling. Hello, starling. We can barely see your coloration, but it looks like a greater blue-eared, glossy starling. Once it pops into the sun, you'll be able to see, if of course it listens to me and pops into the sun. But in the meantime, I've been taken for a ride by lion tracks. I mean, we're always taken for a ride. Hopefully this ride will pay off. They are somewhere in this block. At least I think. I haven't gone the whole way around yet. Near the hyena den. Ooh. There's that lovely color. Also want to listen out. Now the wild dogs that are in the north have moved further north, but we will be kept posted if anything changes. So I think I'm going to swing around to check Treehouse Dam. A lot of you are jumping at the sound of wild dogs. My ears perked up as well when I heard it. But they seem to be moving towards the Manyeleti, so let's keep hopeful. I don't hear any lions calling. Then again, they seem to come through Juma in the middle of the night and then come out pretty soon. Or at least we have our beautiful starling to keep us company. And a really stunning marula that still has most of its leaves, which is really nice. The marulas tend to drop their leaves, and that makes sense for all plants. You'll find that evergreen trees, and we're talking about the adaptations for winter, most plants will drop their leaves because leaves become an expense they can't afford when there's very little nutrients around. There are trees, like evergreen trees, that will stay green, though, through the winter, and those ones have different types of adaptation, so you don't have to drop your leaves. You can also have a chemical composition in your leaf that resembles antifreeze, so that you don't have a vascular system that is frozen. Like the African wattle tends to stay green. But they still need to keep a few areas that can photosynthesize. Not necessary, but trees try to do that. During the summer, that's when they'll be photosynthesizing a lot, doing all they can, doing their major growth. And that's why with growth rings in a tree, you get the large ones, and then you get the thin ones. And those actually depict how good the season was. Larger ones tend to be where lots of growth happens, or the wide rings where lots of growth happens, and it has enough resources in order to do quite a lot of growing. In the winter, the resources are substantially less, and investment is substantially less, so those rings are much thinner. So when you're counting rings, it's the wider one plus the thinner one. That is usually a year. Now, if we look across on that side, you can see there's a tree with some red on it. Can you see that one, BK? All the way in. It's quite far away, but it's stunning. Just further up. Barbara, you said you never noticed or never knew, I think a little bit left, BK, that leaves were so important. Leaves are very, very important. There we go, ta-da. Leaves are so important because trees are very, very complex. They have a vascular system. They have phloem and xylem. They have cambium, living cells that need to, kind of like the powerhouse where they're producing cells inward and outward to produce the wood that we know and use, or produce the bark. These leaves need to start making sugars, converting sunlight, and using that sunlight to make sugars. Roots absorbing all sorts of nutrients from the ground. Having relationships with fungi, mycorrhizal relationships, so that they're all connected. There's so much going on. There's a network of nutrient transfer, of competition, all going on underground. Chemical signals sent through leaves, pores that open and close called stomata on leaves that allow the tree to breathe, really. Also allows it to control its temperature, so they can stay at a steady temperature. Sometimes trees can even get a fever. And that's what the FLIR camera has been used for in the past on farms and things like that, to look at a tree who's got a temperature, which is an indication of some sort of disease. And that's the tree actually like a temperature with you. Temperature is not caused by whatever's infected you. Your temperature is caused by your body trying to get rid of that infection. In the same way, the tree starts to close up its stomata and tries to make itself hotter to kill off any infection that it's got. And remember, trees have got to eat, have got to mate, all those things that animals have to do, but they've got to do it standing still. So they are incredible, incredible creatures. This marula is getting some sunlight. It's probably a bit cold, but it's finally getting some sunlight. And it's, I'm sure, beginning to eat. But TAYLA, hopefully she's not eating, but definitely that buffalo is on the other side of eating the eaten.
We hope that they do that. However, we've got some other creatures that are also quite hungry this morning. We have got a pair of Cape glossy starlings, and they are lingering around the buffalo carcass. Now, you're probably wondering why on earth are they here, because these are not vulture-like birds that scavenge on carcasses. But what I bet they are after is insects, because a big part of a starling's diet is to actually feast upon insects. Now, this is the tricky thing, is there's probably some kind of little creatures living around in the grass, but something cool that I've seen starlings do it, and I've seen spurfowls and francolins do it, is that they'll actually come up and around to carcasses and feed on the maggots that will, come out of the carcasses. So essentially, whatever fly species that sort of their larvae will feed on rotting flesh, so bottle flies, blowflies, all those types of things, they will lay their eggs on these carcasses, and literally within a matter of hours those eggs will hatch, and the larvae will start gobbling up what's left of the carcass. They then will molt a few times. They'll shed their skins and they get bigger and bigger before they pupate and turn into the flies themselves. And this can take a few weeks, but it's not usually more than about a month. And I think that these starlings were hoping that maybe there'd be a few maggots and that would be crawling around here. Maggots are surprisingly very nutritious, and that would be a great breakfast for these birds. So I think that's quite clever. And the lions have also moved off slightly. They're just laying around the corner. We can't see them anymore. The jackal has stopped alarming, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But it would be quite cool. I've definitely seen it a few times with the Nkuhuma pride that you occasionally see at Djuma. You'll see francolins coming around their carcasses. But very pretty birds, aren't they, those starlings? It's actually gone exceptionally quiet now. I thought with the lions moving behind the wattle that's in the distance, that green bush that you can see, I thought that they would have taken the chance to just, I suppose there's no quiet way that a vulture flies. Hey, when they jump out of those trees, the tree swings side to side, branches break, and when they land on the floor, it makes a bit of a thud. But I thought that they were going to come down and at least try their luck. And neither have the hyenas. I'm actually very disappointed in the hyenas. This would have been a perfect chance to cause some chaos, but no. Everyone is being very well behaved. It's like they're extending the sighting for us so that we can enjoy it again this afternoon. I have no problem with this, of course. Now, it's obviously interesting watching all these hyena dynamics sort of develop. A consulting detective, I don't know if there's more than one clan. I think that the Pridelands clan is a lot larger than what I first thought. Like I said, I've now seen 9 individual adults, and I don't think that they'd be so happily interacting with one another if they weren't from the same clan. Hyena clans don't like one another. They're actually running. Why are they running? And where are they running to? Do you see that, Kat? I don't know if you can see now, but 3 of them have got up and have darted away. They're just on the other side of the tree. We're just trying to see if you can get a view. You can see hyena legs. Apologies, everybody. I can't really show you them that well, but maybe they'll come back into frame again. But there could definitely be more than one clan. But if there were 2 different clans that were surrounding these lions last night, there definitely would have been some kind of a rival dispute. So right now, I think that we're in core Pridelands clan territory. So I think that they're here, but there definitely will be a clan, I'm sure, around up in Jajani, and maybe even on the far eastern corner. Oh, look, there's the lionesses up. The far eastern corner of Kwenga, which is the other area we can traverse, and kind of just sort of east of that is Klaseri. Lioness, don't eat there, because we can't see. We just see her ears every now and then. At some point, I will do a little bit of maneuvering around, but we won't do it right now. We shall wait. We shall see. There's a brazen hyena that's making its way in. I'm going to keep an eye on it while you watch that lioness. Goodness gracious, just when you think things cannot get better, it seems as though they are. Off you go to Ngala, where they haven't found lions, but Rowan has pulled a leopard out of his hat.
So it's actually quite funny how this happens, that we track a pride and then what do we find? 2 leopards. So Tswalu youngsters. The male just went off. I think he might come to the front, and the female is still lying down on the termite mound. Where he was. Oh, there he goes. He's on the left now. The timing couldn't have been more extraordinary. As you guys came to us, he walked off. Looks like he's going into the sun. I'm flabbergasted by how big he's gotten. He's absolutely huge. And it's been about a month and a half now since we've seen them. So no idea where Mom is. She might be out hunting, and she decided to leave the 2 of them here. She'll probably be back during the course of today or even tomorrow. Hopefully she managed to find something, come fetch the youngsters, and then they'll feed on it together. You can see this little female just trying to warm up on the termite mound. Starting to lick herself now. Wouldn't be surprised if she gets up soon and follows the brother. So let's see what she gets up to. I'm expecting a yawn. So we can't see the brother now, but once she starts moving, then we'll try loop around to the left hand side. See, beautiful animal. Very different looking, the 2 of them. It's actually quite nice that they are so relaxed. They're about 14.5 months old, but just the size of the brother. Oh, there we go. Ladybug, wondering how old they are? There you go, 14.5 months. Okay, Odie, keep up with me, because the brother is here right in front, so we're just going to drive 10 meters. Don't go anywhere. The female is going to pop up right to the front, just in front of us. Odie, I'm going to put him, there she goes, trotting over, and the male is here. Beautiful sunlight to your left. See, very pink on the nose. He's also just enjoying the sunlight, heating up a little bit. Most probably his sister will either come towards him or he's going to go to his sister soon. Boo, I agree, they are absolutely gorgeous. Boo's commenting that they are so pretty. And they are definitely, without a doubt, my favorite animal to find in the bush. I think, well, they're supposed to be very secretive, very elusive. But what we found with youngsters is Mom leaves them somewhere and they'll just stay there. They might play around this area, but these 2, it's so lovely to find. They've relaxed completely around the vehicles, so fully habituated to the vehicles. Whereas the mom, she's not really. If we find her in the car, she usually tries to hide. Oh, he might stretch his claws. There we go. Beautiful. And just showing off. Those eyes are spectacular. So of course, he does that to stretch his claws a little bit and also sharpen them. It's like you stretching out your hands. He does it against a tree. Big yawn. Also still waking up in the cold of the morning. I think some of the... No idea what happened there. I can't answer that for you, but that was awesome. This was cool. And it's not like anything scared him. There's nothing there. I think it might just been the grass that's irritating him. Okay, let me just parked behind, well, he just stopped behind that bush now. So we're actually going to drive towards what made him jump here, put our nose in there, and then Odie, he'll be on our right again. Definitely making us maneuver. Got some nice vegetation here. Odie just told me that should work, huh? Yes, he's a pretty male leopard. Very, very big, broad head. Joan says if she looked as good as this leopard, she would also show off all the time. Joan, I fully agree. I would try to be on camera as much as possible if I looked anything like him. I think he's going on search for his sister now. So we are definitely going to try keep up. He's not running away at all. He's not disturbed with the vehicle at all. I think he found his sister, I think. I just saw the way he walked in and he looked over to the right. I'm pretty sure his sister's just in here somewhere. Oh, there he goes, Odie. So the sister is in here somewhere where he was actually staring at her. But let's try and maneuver through this gap. Okay, we got the sister, I think. It's always funny, one is more secretive than the other. It's shyer. And here, the little female is a little bit shyer than the brother. Quite. You can see if you compare the two faces, she's got a much slimmer, smaller head. You know, not as much as of a thick neck. Cody, we're going through here, so hold on. Go. So while these leopards are waking up and forcing us to wake up quickly, we're going to send you back over to Tswalu with Dylan. Ah, they're playing.
So our meerkats are still well tucked into bed. It's still pretty cold here. But while we're waiting for them, I've got something really fascinating to show you. And when you see this landscape, yeah, you see the odd trees and that, but they're quite like widespread, quite scattered and quite small compared to where our colleagues are working. But we're also dealing with this intense cold. You know, old Gendre's all wrapped up there, he's got his gloves on. But I mean, we know we had -4 yesterday morning, we're down to -2 this morning. So then the question is, well, how do some plants survive this? Because we know things get killed by frost. So we've got this little plant that we've got in front of us here is really, really special. It's super small, super a wispy little thing, almost looks fern-like from a distance. And it gets hard by frost. These ones were on slightly higher ground here. They've been spared the worst of the frost. But this one at the camera here, you can see that. See how the leaves just come off? Okay, so that's frost that's done this. These ones are on their way out. See how these tips have been hit there? But what is truly astounding, astounding, that was a combination of two words. It's early. Yeah, what's truly outstanding about this little guy, it is actually an underground tree. Okay, so this plant is not going to be harmed in any way, I promise. And it is actually called an eland's bean. It gets a big seed pod on it with seeds, then they're actually toxic to most animals. You can make a coffee from it, but I promise you, you can make coffee from anything if you try hard enough. And it, like, you know, you can make coffee from this and this and this. Like, you roast anything long enough and grind it up and add sugar and milk and you've got coffee. But anyway, so you can make coffee, but its primary thing is actually used for tanning leather. And it's got a whole lot of other little medicinal purposes as well. But the key thing is tanning leather. And I want to just see if I can get down to a point to show you. So like I feel like an art folk now. Well, no, I don't feel like one. I feel like one. It's like, and I'm going to put all the sand back. You see, we're not even getting to the roots yet. Yeah, just give me some time. Yeah, like. Yes, I know there's going to be animals out here that can dig, and they're going to be laughing their heads off at me. It's like, what? That's not how you dig. I should be using Gendre's hands for this. Eh? It's like, yeah, come on, come on, come on. I'm getting there. Slowly, slowly, catchy monkey. Well, whenever Gendre and I don't have something else to show people, we like kind of like scratch around in the sand a little bit, and hopefully something turns up. It's like desperate times. Now Gendre's kind of getting in there now. You can see that. See, from what's above ground, this tiny little wispy little thing here. Look how this root is starting to open up here now. Look how big it's getting in there. And this is going to get just bigger. I'm going to keep this hole open for now. Before we leave again, we're going to close it up. Yo, the sand is freezing cold, my word. So we'll close it up properly again, but I'm going to keep on opening this up for you, and you're going to actually see the extent of this root. They get thick like that, and they can go down almost our length, over 1 meter deep. Well, I'm a little bit taller than 1 meter, I guess, but they go down really, really deep. And I just really want to show you. Oh, okay, there you're actually seeing it nicely now. Sorry. Let me just get in here a little bit more. My dog would be proud of me. Actually, probably not. It can actually dig better than this. Look at that. Look at that. So, remember we were talking about the temperature and how cold it gets and the frost? And so this is actually an adaptation, an evolutionary adaptation to surviving in environments where either fire is a key feature, or frost, or fire and frost. In fact, it sounds crazy, you got heat and cold, but often fire and frost go hand in hand, because you can get rank grass growth. Frost comes along, dries everything out, kills all their bug and that's when fires sweep through. So this little guy has actually developed this incredible underground stem. So what we're seeing here is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Literally an iceberg this morning. But I'll open this up over the next couple of minutes, and you can have a look at it, exactly what it looks like underneath there. But while I'm doing that, head over to TAYLA and see what she's got.
We tried to move around, and then all the lioness did was hop to the other side. So we're kind of back where we started with the view. You might be able to hear a big train going past in the distance, carrying all sorts of materials. But she is quite happily feeding now on the rear end of this buffalo. You can just kind of see her there. The boys are all scattered out. I think that they've had enough to eat. Maybe they were eating throughout the night while we were all fast asleep. And they've tucked themselves deep into the bushes, so I don't know if we're going to get another view of them. But she's now taking an opportunity to feed peacefully. I don't know how she can fit anything more in her belly, because she's also not slender right now. She's definitely eaten a whole bunch. You can see her just trying to tear away at some flesh. I was hoping that we were going to get a better angle, but I suppose you can't have everything, right? And also the hyenas have kind of moved off. I think they've gone to settle down, and maybe they will try again later. That must be horrible, staring in at these lions and wanting a little snack but not being able to get it. I reckon, though, if they were just brave enough and they all stood together, they could chase these lions off. I don't think that they'd put up a massive fight. I think they'd try. Like I said, I think the lioness would go, she'd run, and then they'd just be down to 2 young males. Once this train goes, we should be able to hear her crunching. No, not crunching, she's tearing, using that carnassial shear to slice into the hide. Butterfly, I don't think the cold would ever stop a lion from eating. I think, these animals literally eat to survive, and they don't ever know when they're going to get their next meal. So factors like the cold, I don't think play a role in it too much. They'll eat as much as they can. And you know what? If they are feeling freezing, then they form a carpet, where they'll all huddle next to one another and keep nice and warm. It's what you typically will see with a pride. A lion cannot resist lying on another lion. Goodness, say that 10 times over at a great speed. That's a serious tongue twister. I would have liked to have seen all 3 of them feeding on the carcass, just to see how tolerant they were of one another. But not this morning. Maybe in the afternoon. Here we go, the train has finally moved on. See if you can hear her. You should be able to hear that. Can you hear it? Yeah, it's quite soft. She's just looking back behind her. She's obviously very cautious. She keeps looking around her. But I think she's lucky. Oh, there's only one. I can see one hyena moving, but it's in the distance. I don't know if you'll get a view of it. It's kind of just behind where she is, but I think they're growing bored, growing tired. But they won't go far. They'll just find a little shady spot. And when it gets hotter, because it is going to get warm today, it's the greatest thing about winter in these areas. The days or the early mornings are freezing cold, and so are the nights, but the days warm up nicely where you can just walk around in shorts and a t-shirt. It's honestly the best kind of winter. Greta, no, I actually don't think that sort of the hyenas not making a move has anything to do with them being able to smell the carcass, because it's not so hot. This is a very fresh carcass, so it doesn't actually have much of a smell at all, but the hyenas are here. So yeah, maybe if the hyenas were not here, yes, but last night we counted 9 hyenas, so they've arrived fairly quickly. We don't really know when these lions made this kill. But I did have male lion tracks yesterday morning on safari coming in the direction of Leopard Dam. So whether they had killed it, we just didn't notice in the early hours of yesterday morning, or if they did it after breakfast, we'll never really know. We'll just have to wait. But the hyenas definitely know that it's here. And the vulture, the fact that there's a vulture around, that also gives it away. And I was saying earlier that if predators see vultures sitting up in a tree, if they see them dying down, they'll go and investigate. They'll go and just make sure that there's not something there that they can scavenge. So it's not just the hyenas that will scavenge. Lions will scavenge from other lions, from hyenas, from leopards. They'll just, steal one another's kills all the time. The only of the big cats that kind of doesn't really scavenge is a cheetah. Shame. They don't really have power behind them to chase a lion off of a kill or a hyena. I always joke, and the funniest thing I think I've ever seen, and I've told this story so many times, is where I was working down in the southern Sabi Sand, and a male cheetah had caught an impala, and a flock of vultures flew down and chased him off of his kill. And I thought that was quite sad. So they really don't stand a chance. So the hyena's still just lurking and looking on in. Coming closer though. Maybe like 15 meters away. Come on, she's all there on her own. Just run in and give her a fright. and then you might stand a chance. Okay, well, we're just going to sit and see if any action develops. Off you go to Rowan. The leopards are on the move and are also looking hungry.
They haven't quite gotten breakfast yet, I don't think yet. They'll wait for Mom to come back. Although you can see the way he's moving through the bush. He's slowly, I think he might hear like birds in the grass, so he's just investigating. Oh, and he sits still. Every now and then he'll look back this way. I think his sister is still behind him, somewhere in the grass here. She just disappeared as we were driving past. But in a while she might pop out. So they are literally just investigating the area, you know. Being young animals, still very curious about every small sound, every small noise. They still play with each other a lot. You'll see them jumping around and pouncing on one another, also stalking one another. Of course, all of this being very, very important for them growing up. Beautiful as he's looking straight into the sun back at us. We're just talking about it. So his dad is the Tamboti Tom. And of course, Makoti Mal's dad is also Tamboti Tom. And I think this little guy is only 14 and a half months old. He's pretty much nearly the size of Makoti Mal. It's quite strange to see the size difference. I think he's going to be a lot larger. But then, of course, his mom is quite a bit larger than the black dam female, which was Makoti Mal's mom. But I think it also has to do with the Tswalu female. She's still alive and she's still feeding these two. And it was at this age, also 14 months old, that Makoti Mal's mom, the black dam female, died. Quite odd to see how leopards deal with that. I think Makoti could have been a slight bit bigger if he ate, you know, better meals rather than vultures and monitor lizards. I think these two are still feeding very, very well. Tswalu female are taking good care of them. James Richard, good question. Pretty sure she has. Like I was saying earlier, the Tswalu female is not really too relaxed. She's not really been too relaxed around us. And it's only with these cubs that we've actually managed to really habituate her. So I'm not too sure if she's raised any cubs to adulthood yet. No, the first time I've photographed her, she was 3 years old already. But these are the first cubs that we're actually watching her raise. So waiting for this little female to come out of the bush and start stalking him. He just looks like he's enjoying the sun now. I think he actually might have heard something in the vegetation next to him. You can see his focus, or his eyes almost focus on that area every now and then. Curious cat. Then of course looking at us. This is actually the first time he's sitting still since you guys left us. It's quite nice. We're also just enjoying the sunlight for now. Warming up. Oh, now he's looking into the tree. Stand by quick. Lolly is asking where do we look for the spot pattern to ID a leopard. Lolly, pretty much all over their face. So, I mean, the Tamboti Tom has a smiley face above his right eye. Pretty much in the middle of the forehead. Then we look to the side of the mouth, the upper lip. There's usually spots. Okay, now he's lying down. I'm going to try maneuver us around to the other side so we can get a view of his face. And then, yeah, above the eye, different spots. Sorry, just to, while the camera is focused on me. So here, usually, there'd be spot patterns. And then, of course, anywhere here, we look for spot patterns. Though, saying that, any leopard could really have a distinctive spot pattern. Anyway, I know the New Zulu female, what she has is 4 spots going up here. Okay. I think we might get a view of the female here. Yeah. So she doesn't want to pose for the camera. She's going towards her brother though, which is good. So let's maneuver around. She might just stick here to the thicket. Like I said, it's weird, but it's always one sibling is shyer than the other sibling. She doesn't want to come out for now. So we're just going to sit here, Eddie. Put you in here. Not too sure what he's licking, whether it's his paw or a bit of poo. There we go. Alrighty. So we're going to wait while we're here. Actually, we're probably going to spend the whole morning here, if I have to be honest. But see if the sister comes out. But for now, I'll send you back over to TAYLA. It sounds like a vulture is being very brave.
Yes, that little hooded vulture that we were telling you about earlier has become quite brave and is now on the floor. The lioness is, yes, and still indeed feeding on the carcass. And it's sort of they're thinking, I wonder if I go around from here, will she notice? Probably also going, that stomach content feels quite warm on my feet. I might should stand here and warm him up for a little bit. No, I'm joking. That's not what the vulture says. The vulture is really deciding whether or not it is going to go there. It's weighing up its options. Do I try? Because you can see its crop is not particularly full. Am I going to get chased away? And it does this little hop, skip, and a jump every now and then when it gets nervous, when the lioness turns and whips it a look. Come on, just do it. Eat on the other side of the head and maybe she won't mind. One vulture won't do too much damage, but with this one on the floor... Actually, the whiteback vulture's flown off, so this hooded vulture is actually lucky here. There's that lioness might go, it's not worth wasting the energy chasing just one vulture away. It's not going to decimate my carcass. Come on, vulture, you can do it. I have faith in you. I think the issue is the vulture's going, I've got a very small beak and I can't tear into the buffalo hide. And I don't know if the eyes are eaten. Oh, it's got something. What have you got, vulture? You got a little scrap of some delicious treat. Oh, yum. Look at that. Looks like a piece of biltong or jerky. Very proud of itself right now. Apologies for the branches. Again, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay in this one spot. Okay, so you're just going to walk around up first. Careful you don't choke. That looks like a tough piece of something. Still able to tear little bits away. You can see how it's using its feet to hold down the piece of flesh or hide or whatever it was gobbling. Yum. That's a start. Anna-Marie, something that I have not seen particularly in this area is the marabou storks. You'll see them around every now and then, the enormous old man dinosaur bird. And they do scavenge around on and near carcasses, but I haven't seen them doing it here. Maybe that's lion dung. Maybe that's not dung, feces. Maybe, are you eating scat? Yes, that's your favorite thing to eat, isn't it, hooded vulture? Imagine. I like the little shuffle that it's doing with its feet too. So yeah, it would be nice to see some marabou storks. I haven't seen many of them. There was I was obviously talk about Sri Lanka and East Africa and all the places that I've travelled to and been on safari. There's a bird also that looks exactly like a marabou stork, but it's called the lesser, what is it called? Lesser, I can't even remember the name. I don't know why I went to tell you that story yet. Lesser adjutant. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. And they look very much like marabou storks, and we used to see them around all the time. But not here. But if we go up into places like Zambia, like Lower Zambezi National Park, oh my goodness, there's hordes of marabou storks. And South Luangwa, they're just everywhere, and they're also always around carcasses. Southern ground hornbills will also come around carcasses too. So you can see an array of bird life. So that's all the stomach content from the buffalo that you can see on the floor there. You see lots of little insects flying around now. So maybe there's some bits of intestine, or like I said, maybe lion feces. You'll just eat anything, won't you, vulture? You're not fussy. I suppose that's quite efficient, and even just from that small amount that it's eaten, you can see how the crop has sort of bulged out a little bit, just below its neck. Come on, be brave enough. Feed on the tongue. Maybe the eyes are still there. That's going to be delicious. Mile, I agree. I don't know why the vultures and the hyenas are not teaming up right now. Although the vultures actually can be a bit of a nuisance to the hyenas too, because they can completely destroy a carcass, and the hyenas get upset by this. Even though that they're also speed eaters. Definitely, if you wanted to eat a food eating competition, you'd want to enter a vulture or a hyena. Those would be my two bets. And they... Oh, no, I've completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, goodness gracious, it's too early. Sorry, everybody. I'm just going to take a moment to remember what I was saying. Listen, I know that this happens to all of you. Yes, vultures and hyenas teaming up. Yes, there we go. So what happens is that the hyenas get rather flustered and get annoyed, and then they chase the vultures away. But you'll see them feed together. Right. I've been told to pull myself towards myself and focus again, so I shall try and do that with a sip of coffee. Off you go back across to the leopards at Ngala.
TAYLA, good luck. I have the same problem early in the morning, trying to figure out words. Leopards are doing well. We've parked with the young male. We've actually come around and away from the young female. And what she did was interesting. She came out the bush and she walked the opposite direction. So now these two have split up. I think probably the distance between them is about 100 meters. So we decided to just stay with him, seeing as he's the more relaxed one for now. And he, I think, is just enjoying the sunlight. So he's on a bit of a game path lying down there, luckily for us. A bit more out in the open, of course. We do have grass in front of us. But, yeah, just enjoying the sunlight. Eyes still open. Every now and then he looks to this tree, Tswalu, to his left, and he looks up, and I think, oh, yeah, is he going to climb it? Is he going to climb it? Being a young, playful leopard, he might just climb it for fun. But then he looks quite comfy there now. You can see his eyes are starting to close a little bit more every now and then. Still very aware of what's around him, though. You can see the ears moving in the opposite direction, so still picking up every sound. Now it looks like he might have sniffed something. Or there might be something behind us walking through the grass that got his attention. We can't see anything. Shan asking, is there a purpose for the line between their nose and their mouth? Shan, the black line, I think it's just part of the patterning. I can't really think of any purpose for that black line. So sorry, Shan, no, I don't think so. I think it's all just part of the patterning. Okay, so it seems like Steve has found some nice and active squirrels, so we're going to send you back over to him on Juma.
Thanks, Rowan. Well, indeed, we are back with some squirrels. And sorry about the bumpy there. We've been trying to get the aerial back up. We've had a bit of an issue with the aerial falling down. And now we have found a little family of squirrels once again. We were with them on Saturday, if you recall. And they were quite social the other day. And here they are being quite social again. At least 4 of them that I can count on the exact same tree. And probably there's a little cavity, a little nest somewhere in there that they're using. So, hello everybody. We're not able to find Shadulu after she gave us the slip. We did work it a little bit more, quite a bit more actually, and she didn't come out of the block as far as we could see, so we've now decided to go on a little drive to show some of the cutest little mammals around. Doing a little bit of grooming, it seems, not very vigorously at the moment. I think they're all just enjoying the sunshine for now. There's been some snow down in the Cape, which is what's caused us to have such cold conditions. Paul, you love them squirrels. Well, they're very cool, aren't they? They are indeed very, very cool little animals. Here we go. Time for a grooming. So everybody, please, if you... Oh, there's a stretch. If you have the time and an inclination, please go to the link below so we can continue to bring the animals that you love to your screens. Your support is much appreciated. Shadulu fan wants to know what's my favorite thing about squirrels. It's a very good question, Shadulu fan. Well, I don't like the alarm calls that they do. I don't trust squirrel alarm calls when it comes to finding animals. But they're just very funny little animals, you know. They're very energetic. I've had a few friends that have rehabilitated a few squirrels that have fallen out of nests. And they are very affectionate little creatures, but they also do tend to bite quite a lot, but definitely very affectionate little guys. They're very energetic, and they're quite cuddly. But, I mean, you see them out here in their little family units. Oh, scratching. Oh, hang on. Time to climb on your back. You can see there's a size difference between those two. Oh. It's just whispering sweet nothings. There we go. That's what I like Shadulu fan the most, is how they whisper sweet nothings into each other's ears. Probably, if we're going to say what's my favorite thing about... Ooh, there goes a hawk eagle over the top. They didn't even alarm. Do you see that? Not a peep. That was a harrier hawk, actually. So, Shadulu fan, you want to know what my favorite thing about squirrels, and it has got to do with a fact about squirrels, that they have got the largest testicles per body size for a mammal. I think that is my favorite thing about squirrels. Everyone might suddenly be going, hang on, did he just say that? Well, I believe it to be true. I might be completely wrong, but I believe it to be the fact that the squirrels have got the largest set of testicles for a mammal of their size, or body size, which is quite interesting. And in the mating season, they are very busy. Very, very busy. I used to work at Eco Training. They had these little tents in Botswana. The squirrels used to nest in the top of the little dome tents, and I saw some very passive students becoming very aggressive because the squirrels would go and make noise all night long, and people had to be up early for for walks and activities. So they are very social. Wonderful knobthorn tree there. Very good. Well, I've seen leopards attempt to catch squirrels. Rowan has got a couple of those, so let's go back over to him.
Steve, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This leopard is only going to catch a nap. Yep. Not really interested in any squirrels at the moment. See, their eyes still open up every now and then and still watching us. Of course, when we start moving every now and then, just also taking off layers, it's starting to warm up a little bit. Then, of course, he'll lift his head and he'll look at us. But otherwise, very, very relaxed with our presence. We must be about 10 meters away from him now and just sleeping. Not even in the longest grass, out in the open on a game path, giving us an extraordinary view. He is facing a little bit backwards, I think. So trying to puzzle out where exactly his sister is. But I think she might have gone back to that termite mound where we first found them. Or first saw them. Actually, it was Eric and Yapi that found these two this morning. So well done to those two. Thank you for the help. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. It's so funny how every single time, you have a plan for your safari. You think, okay, I'm going to try do this and this and this and this. And it just completely changes very quickly. But lovely morning. Actually on all reserves. Odie asked if he was snoring, so I just kept quiet there for a little while. But no, I don't think he's snoring. Emma says this looks like the comfiest little spot. It does indeed. That sun, I think, is just heating him up so nicely right now. But it's amazing to see how he's blending in. We're trying to take photos of him a little bit earlier, but with all the grass in front, it's actually quite magnificent. Okay, so where we are now, you'd actually be able to see him, but if you were 5 meters back, you really would not see him lying down there. It'd be so easy for them to hide away. I was just starting to laugh. You could see his body was actually falling to his right-hand side, our left, as he's falling asleep. No, it looks very comfy. No, he's not falling over anymore. Charles O asking, how do we... Oh, now he's falling to his left again, or to our right. Adjusting the body again. Charles O is asking, how do we tell the difference between leopards and jaguars? So Charles, of course in Africa we don't get jaguars. You can see his body moving again to the right. He might adjust now. Not quite too comfortable in the position he is. Everyone's like me, is thinking, okay, why just droop down to one side now? So Charles, we won't find any jaguars here in Africa. They are from South America. And jaguars are a lot bigger. To give you an idea, this leopard probably weighs maybe 45, 50 kilograms. So as a grown male, he might go up to 80, 90 kilograms, whereas a jaguar is going to weigh double that, about 180 kilograms. So basically a jaguar is the size of a lioness. So much bigger spots, and yeah, you'll find them in South America rather than in Africa. But both in the same family. Charles, I must say, it's probably still one of my biggest dreams to go see a jaguar in the wild. But for now, I'll just deal with leopards. Even I must say, that would be super cool. It really would be. A phenomenal spot to go. Pantanal. Just go see jaguar. Hunting caiman. You can see definitely getting very snoozy and comfortable now in the sunlight. Alrighty. So ours is falling asleep. We might take a look and go see where the sister ended up. But for now, we're going to send you back over to the Pridelands, and TAYLA is still watching her lion.
Yep, we have not moved a muscle. Okay, no, I lie. I have shuffled around slightly. I have removed my blanket off of my legs because it is warming up nicely. We also had a white-backed vulture fly back and join us again, but it is not brave enough to join the hooded vulture on the floor. Because I don't think that the white-backed vulture would be happy with just picking up the tiny little scraps of whatever that hooded vulture is eating. It would want to eat on the buffalo carcass. You can see it just up at the top of that marula tree, watching, plotting. Wonder where I'm going to go. I'm surprised more vultures haven't arrived just yet, because it is fairly warm now. It's actually not cold at all, well, when you're sitting still. And there are more vultures. You can't see them, though. They're sitting on the other side of the drainage line, closer towards Leopard Dam. I thought that they would have flown on in. Just when you think you start understanding the bush and nature, and then you get these curveballs. Scanning about, seeing what else is happening for the day. I think it's inevitable. I mean, one vulture on the floor is definitely going to entice the other one to come on down. Do it. You can do it. You want to do it. You want to eat the rotting carcass. It's mature meat. It's dry aged. No, it's just going to sit there, all fluffed up. Lioness is still, of course, munching away. She's having her fair share. You can just see her. That belly is getting rounder and rounder. And occasionally I've seen the males put their heads up too. Yes, Shan, lions will indeed kill vultures if they can catch them. I think there's some great video clips on the interwebs where lions have charged on out, especially young lions, and grab vultures, like when they've been, unsuspecting, sitting around carcasses. Something that was quite interesting to see was in East Africa, and again I talk about the Masai Mara ecosystem a lot, but the vultures would get so fat there that they couldn't really fly properly, so they'd just sit on the floor with their wings spread out. You are very vulnerable as a vulture. Vultures are not very quick when it comes to taking off. They need a bit of a running start before they take to the air, although they can leap, up and down quite well. But, it's not like a starling or a drongo that can sit on the floor and they can just shoot straight up into the sky. So then they're going to be vulnerable. Here, lots of trees around. In the Masai Mara, it's a very different sort of habitat. There's big open plains with a few trees just scattered around here and there. That can be a little bit challenging to them. But lions are opportunistic feeders. They will literally eat anything and everything. They'll eat other lions, like I've told you, the harrowing story of these two big males from Kalahari that come on in, and they've eaten lionesses. So we've seen leopards feeding on other leopards. There's a great show, an old documentary called Eternal Enemies, where a lion eats a hyena. And then of course hyenas will just eat absolutely anything. It's not as common, as them feeding on an impala or feeding on a buffalo, but it definitely does happen. So, wouldn't put it past them, especially if it's an injured animal and it's hungry and it's got nothing else to eat. It will take literally anything and eat it. Munching away. This buffalo carcass is getting thinner and thinner, as you can see. Now we can actually see quite nicely the big cavity. You can see how they've started with the stomach, and like I said yesterday, they ripped out all the intestines. There's really just a skin, a thin skin covering the ribs, but that entire inside is now gone. So now they'll have to start feeding on the rump, which the lioness is doing. Once they've finished that, I'll probably move around towards the shoulder, and then the neck, and then, of course, the tasty cheeks. So they should be here this afternoon if they can hold on to their prey. I'm excited. I can't wait to come back here again. It's nice to watch this sort of development. I did wish we had caught the lions in action taking down a monster buffalo. That is always quite something. I would have loved to have also seen who did most of the work. Did that young male with the injury overcome for a moment his wounds and help with bringing down a buffalo? But male lions are so strong. Once they grab on and they've got a good grip around the throat, they will just literally almost become like a dead weight. And eventually that buffalo will grow tired and fall to the ground, and once it's on the floor, it's game over. And our starling is back. It'll be nice to get the Franklin spur fowls and starlings coming through. Gert, can we have a look inside that stomach? I just want to see if there are any little maggots and things that have come around. Maybe this afternoon or tomorrow we will see some white little wriggling things. I know this is quite gross and gruesome. I understand that. So if you're not into gory bits and blood, then I suggest that you turn away. But it's not too bad. Nothing just yet. I can't see anything wriggling around. But literally the carcass becomes alive, filled with those maggots. So that's how we also know that it's fairly fresh. But the smell is not too bad. Sure. Now, I know this is quite gory, not the maybe something that you want to see first thing in the morning, so I'll send you to Ngala and spare you the guts where you can look at a picturesque scene.
So we've caught up with the sister again, and you can see how interested she is now. She was staring at us the entire time, and then she tried to hide away from us, but then now there are ground birds, a crested franklin, not too far away from her. You can see how their ears are drawn down, trying to hide in that clump of grass, and just watch what the crested franklins are doing. So she has gone back to the termite mound where she was originally seen, where we had her the first time before she vanished, following her brother. And now, it'd be quite exciting if she just decides to pounce on one of these crested franklins. Or she'll actually just try to hide away from it, because being a leopard, they don't want to be seen. They don't want any other animals to know that they are in the area or in the vicinity. Extremely secretive cats. So crested franklin are actually moving off even further now. And there she looks like she seems to be relaxing a bit more. But we were just discussing it. Her ears have been drawn down the entire morning. So obviously just trying to hide away from us as much as possible. Not quite the confidence that her brother has around the vehicles. He keeps giving us a death stare. A very, very pretty little cat. See how easy it is for them to hide away from us if they really wanted to. Can you imagine if you were an impala just walking around you? You would never see that. So even at this age, at the tender age of 14.5 months, they know to hide so well. Very camouflaged. And Odie, I think if you had to zoom out from there, you'd definitely not even see this leopard. How scary is that? Our attention shifts when the dove was flying over. And then now back to us. The male, of course, is just sleeping right in the open. He doesn't mind. He doesn't really care. Still on his game path. Just fallen asleep. Sinking down even more now. I think she's putting, she finally put her face down on the grass. You can see the eyes also getting smaller. But it's funny to see how the spot she picks to sleep compared to the male. So her spot is very grassy, very clumpy. She's very, very, very well hidden. And the male's just right in the open on that game path. Absolutely gorgeous. Annette is saying that this camouflage is crazy. Annette, I'm telling you, this is the reason they are so hard to find. It doesn't matter. I mean, the other day I was chucking Inyala female and her youngster, and the trucks were on the road and they go off the road, fresh. I mean, there was even a bit of scat right next to the road. And I was looking down this game path where the trucks were going, and I could not see a single thing. So I put my 1 foot just on the game path off the road, and I kid you not, 2.5 meters away from me, the Inyala cub jumped up and ran in the opposite direction, and you could not see a single thing. So the camouflage is quite scary. You can see now attention is shifting from us to the left again. So the crested francolin, it's actually 3 of them, has now made their way back. They're on the side of the termite mound, coming up. So now all the attention is shifted to that side again. Oh, this might be exciting. That one is basically running up the hill. Go, little bird. I think this is where I take my camera out. Oh, have you seen it? That is so awesome. And that's, what would you say, 1/2 meter? No, Franklin's turning. Oh. You can see the crest of the other one's out. The little male, the one on the right. Yeah, something there is making him unhappy. I don't think he quite sees her yet. Maybe he has seen her. So she's just watching him. Emma's saying these are some brave birds. Like I always say, there's a very, very, very fine line between bravery and stupidity. I mean, why would you try act brave? Although maybe he's trying to impress the ladies around him. Saying, I can see this leopard. So usually, if she was walking and she was walking towards these crested francolins, her tail would be very... Megan is commenting that maybe he's playing chicken. Ha 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 ha. Megan. Such a dad joke. I love it. What I was saying is, if she was walking through the bush and she saw these crested francolins, her tail would shoot up very high, just to say, I'm not trying to hide myself, I'm not stalking you. And the francolins actually would not alarm call at her. But you can hear now, that is a definite alarm call at the leopard. And she's almost faded in even better to that grass now. I think if she could have tried to pounce on one. I mean, their reactions are so quick and so good. No, now it's a bit too far. Though you saw earlier how high that male could leap just for nothing. Ah, okay. It seems like all animals are being either very brave or a little bit silly this morning. For now, it seems like TAYLA has a, brave hyena. So we're going to send you back over to her.
They are moving straight in the direction of the kill. Gert, let me go. Have you got a view of that one there? Okay, there we go. That's fine. I don't have to move. So we're actually going to leave the sighting, funny enough, just because nothing else was developing. So we thought we'd give these animals some peace and quiet. So we just shuffled around slightly where we found some of the Pridelands clan members just resting up. But they were staring in the direction of the carcass. And then the vulture was jumping around doing its sort of kung fu moves. And the hyenas have decided, let's just take a closer look. Nope, not going in that way. Just having another little look around. We'll see where it goes. If it's going to just slip around or if it's going to move away completely. See, it's just still the lioness that's there. I don't think that they can see where the males are. Sorry, it's not the greatest view, but you can just see how dense it is and how difficult it can be to film in these types of conditions. Why do I have my sunglasses on my head? I have absolutely no idea how they got there. Definitely wasn't posing for a picture just now. Okay, let me just reverse a little bit and see if we can get one little view from this angle here. It might be tricky. I'm just going to keep going back slowly. Tell me when you've got a small gap there. Like that. I don't think we can go any more forward. There we go. So you can see her. There she is. Just a little side view. Oh, you can really see how little she is. She's not big. And I see, thank you very much for those of you that are posting on Twitter. I forget the name, so my apologies. I saw that somebody actually saw this lioness last year in Jajani. So, yeah, she's been doing her round. She's been moving around quite a bit, and she was supposedly on her own there too. And I did say to you that it's not the first time that I've seen this. When I was working down in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, there were 3 sub-adults, 2 males and a female. They actually separated from their pride at a fairly young age. They were just sort of a year, and they no longer wanted to be a part of the pride for whatever reason. I have no idea. And the 3 of them were incredibly naughty and caused all sorts of havoc. But they separated. And then they ended up moving the males to another game reserve, swapping up genetics, and she decided she was going to stay on her own too. She did not join up with the pride, and she roamed around as a lone lioness. So it does happen. More food, there could be too much competition within the pride if it gets too big that, she wasn't getting a substantial amount to eat, and that catching something small like an impala or a duiker or a steenbok would be sufficient for her, and she'd get the whole meal herself. It obviously just brings about a whole bunch of troubles for her. If she does have a kill, she hasn't got many members to help her defend her kill, so hyenas would be able to come in and take it from her. Sophia, ideally, if lions could eat every few days, every 2 to 3 days, they'd be very chuffed, but that's not realistic. Lions will often go 4 or 5 days, up to a week, sometimes even a bit longer, without catching something to eat. This time of the year becomes a little bit easier for the big cats like lions. The buffalo herds will start moving back and hanging around permanent water sources, and we're very fortunate at Pridelands to have 2 rather large dams. So they'll come through there and hang around there, and the buffalo get weaker and weaker in winter. See the hyenas all just moving. I don't know if you can see them. There's 3 of them just up and to the left. Those ones we were looking at, they're walking down the pathway towards us now. So it will become easier for her. So I think all she's going to do is literally live around Leopard Dam and just wait in those Tamboti thickets until something comes down to drink. And all the animals must come down and drink eventually, and she can surprise them. So it's quite clever. But again, there's lots of risks involved. So there are 3 hyenas, very determined, still looking on in. Can you imagine what that must smell like? It's like, for example, if you were into a carbonara pasta, perhaps that's your favorite meal, and you can smell it and you can see it, but you can't have it. I think that's what's going on in the minds of these hyenas. Yes, or a cinnabon that you can't have, or freshly baked chocolate chip muffins with extra chocolate, or brownies, with anything like that. You get the picture. But I think that's the temptations that these hyenas are feeling right now. And not just since this morning, since yesterday. They've been sitting there just waiting. I actually think that hyenas are my favorite of all the predators. They're so social. They, the interactions are quite complex between the various members of the clan. They're incredibly patient. Oh. Okay. They don't have table manners, though. One just did a big cough. Still not sure. Right, I might sit you for a little bit longer now, just because it's got a bit more interesting. Off you go back across to Ngala, where Rowan is also not going anywhere.
Absolutely right. Although she's now put her head behind the clump of grass, the crested Franklin has moved on. As you can't hear him anymore. He's now moved away quite far, so he's lived till another day. He'll be okay. But yeah, she's now doing exactly what her brother's doing, also falling asleep. Although those ears, see, are pricked up and facing to the right now. Maybe she heard something else in the grass there. But she's not giving us the evil eye anymore, which is quite nice. I mean, that was definitely a death stare a little bit earlier. We were saying how funny it is that, her brother is so relaxed, so calm with the vehicle around. And he doesn't mind us parking quite close to him, whereas with her, every single time we come a little bit closer, her head would dip down and she tries to lose us. Whereas, it's not like one had a different experience with vehicles than the other, because whenever we find them, they are together, the brother and the sister, because of course both of them are still dependable on the mom for food. So you only find these two together. So it would have been exactly the same experiences with vehicles. The exact same time spent around vehicles. Yet the brother's so relaxed and she's not. See her ears moving around, every sound of a bird, every sound of a leaf cracking or branch or anything really. And she's on it. As the head is up. Kelly, good question. So Kelly's wondering if a leopard would ever make a meal out of a Franklin, or if it will only be a game. Oh, there's another Franklin coming. Let's see. Kelly, I must say one of the reasons why a leopard is my favorite animal to watch, or cat to watch, is because they look like they have fun. So, it would be like a chicken wing for you, Kelly, rather than a quarter chicken meal. So just a bit of a snack, but it could give you enough energy to keep going for half a day. And it's actually, I think that would have been rather easy for her to kill rather than, expend less energy than stalking and killing an impala. So yes, a bit of a game, of course, a good learning curve for her, but also a bit of a meal or a nice little quick snack. It's like having a breakfast bar rather than bacon and eggs on toast. This Franklin is a lot smarter than the other one. It's not even coming up the termite mound. It came to the edge of the termite mound and turned around and went straight back into the grass. But as you can see, it woke up the leopard. In actual fact, I don't really think these two are going to move a lot today. Can you imagine this afternoon we can find them in the exact same spot, if that were to be our plan for the afternoon. We were still meant to go check on Nyala female, see if she has any part of the carcass left, but Franklin's coming out the grass again. You can see full focus of the leopard in that direction. No, Franklin's turning around. Back the other way. But it's amazing how sharp the hearing must be to hear that little bird go through the grass. I didn't hear a single thing. I had to look at her and her reaction, see where she's looking to figure out what was going on. Well, other than that, not really too much disturbing her. Not giving us the death stare again. Anushka, they would be able to hunt on their own. Sorry, Anushka was wondering if these two cubs would be able to hunt on their own. And yes, Anushka, they would. This is the exact age that Makoti male, his mom, died. We've had a female here, her mom died when she was 12 months old only. These are already 2.5 months older than that, so 14.5 months, very able to hunt for themselves. Although what we found is, you know, with leopards, the size, they tend to hunt more baboons or birds or monitor lizards. I mean, Makoti male, his name, Makoti, comes from vulture in Shangaan, just because he took it upon himself to start climbing trees into vulture nest and eating the chicks. So yes, they would be able to survive. I mean, with them playing from such a young age, they've already honed in on their hunting skills, and it's just instinctual to be able to hunt and kill, even from a younger age than this. So yes, Anushka, they would be able to hunt for themselves and survive. I mean, it's the most adaptable cat in the world. There are now 3 Franklins, so the 1 or 2 of them have walked past to her left, but the other ones are now running. And just see how she's following all of them. This is why, if this was a lion, it would be fast asleep on the termite mound. It would not care about Franklins running around it. But for a leopard, they're just interested in everything going on around them. And then, of course, give us the death stare. You can see how their ears are still pointed downwards, still sunk in. Odie says it makes her look like Yoda. It's also amazing, the shadow of the grass, how it's helping with her camouflage. No, the camouflage is unreal. I think what I might do is pop around to see what the brother is up to, make sure he's still in the same spot, and then we'll actually let them be, let them lounge away in the sun. Okay, so while we go there, just quickly check what the brother's up to and send you back over to Steve, who's just, bumbling around Juma.
We have indeed been popping around Juma, and we had some impalas and kudu going crazy. So we've just sort of gone into the block where they were calling, the alarm calls. They were looking at a specific spot. And then we bumped into a herd of elephants, and we know that a leopard wouldn't go through the herd. And the herd seemed quite relaxed. We've just moved a little bit further on. Not sure who they were shouting at, but kudu don't lie, everybody. Kudu are very reliable. Impalas you can get a bit confused with when it comes to the rutting season. If you're not certain of the difference between a male's sort of rutting snort and his alarm call, it can get confusing. But the females were up and at it, so that's a very good indication. They don't alarm call for hyena. There are lots of hyena tracks moving through that area. Okay, we're just going to pop around the corner, see if whoever they were shouting at has come out. It's a wonderful little drainage system here, perfect. Elusive leopard country. Fern kudus are so honest. They are. They make this loud, like that, almost like that. That loud bark, very loud bark. And like the impala at the beginning of the show, they'll often follow that leopard for a while. And we found the kudu and we found the elephants, and the kudu were a bit more relaxed walking away. So this is the other way to check. This comes out on the other side, and maybe we'll be lucky. There's an enormous amount of luck involved in finding animals, but also the ability to hear and also a bit of intuition. Knowing the property is very helpful. Knowing where the water is, the drainage lines, if the animal comes out, where they might come out at, and you can go check that, because often you have quite major game paths cutting through these blocks. And animals like to walk on game paths. It's just easier. When they're stalking, obviously, they might go into the thicket, but if they find a game path and they're on their way out, because what happens, as you saw Shadula earlier, when they were shouting at her, she just starts walking away. They do that. Either they roll up in a ball and go to sleep, or they walk away. They don't continue the hunt. The energy expended, or the potential energy expended on a hunt would be wasted. So done study with cheetah as well, with Thompson's gazelle or springbok specifically. And the cheetah abandon 99% of their attempts when a springbok starts doing that high jumping motion. The cheetah just goes up and gives up. So it's an indication of fitness. They're showing the cheetah, I see you. See if you can catch me. All my legs are working wonderfully well. The cheetah just goes, no, it's fine. But if one of the springbok is trying to do the jump and he can't, well, then he will get eaten. Survival of the fittest. Predators will always go for the easiest meal. That's why lions are regarded as enormous scavengers. Everyone thinks the hyenas are the biggest scavenger. And here in Djuma, I think that actually is the case. They do follow our leopards around, but in the Masai Mara, where we had the big clans of hyena there, they did a lot of their own hunting. So where we are, just in here, is where they're alarm calling. So let's just have a little switch off and a listen. You can often hear the noises of other animals, birds, as a predator moves away. Franklins, guinea fowl, other animals, impala. Everything seems to be quite still. Nirvana girl's making a kudu ears to try and hear something. It's a very helpful thing. If you're not sure what we mean by kudu ears, just put your hands behind your ears and you'll hear so much more, like so. You can pick up far much higher range of volumes. Very helpful. Okay, well, nothing. Nothing. That's all right. We were blessed with a leopard out the gate, and I mean that literally. What a special way to start the day. Standing there and a leopard walks 2 meters past you. Coffee in hand. Davy, there's a leopard. Let's go on drive quickly. Sometimes, because it is Emma's birthday today, everybody who's directing, so please feel free to send through your birthday wishes to her. And then we were singing happy birthday, Emma. Happy birthday, Emma. And here's a bird that almost looks like a birthday cake, Emma, for you. The most photographed bird in the Kruger National Park. The lilac-breasted roller. Beautiful. Beautiful. A lilac-breasted roller is what we call a plunge dive hunter. It's looking for insects that are moving around, and it will flop down onto the ground on them. So you find them always perched. It's why they're so photogenic, or photographed as well. They just sit there waiting. The breeding season is over, of course, and lilac-breasted roller requires cavities created by woodpeckers and barbets in trees. So there's a link between yesterday's chat on nesting and bird behavior with today. Oopsie, he had a poo. So exclusively insect diet, and they remain around in a time when the insects have really dropped off. So they still have the ability to hunt insects. Whereas all the other rollers, the European roller has migrated all the way back north again. The broad-billed roller also occurs in these areas, but they move away. I haven't seen a broad-billed actually in my time in Djuma, but I've seen them in the Kruger. And the purple rollers around as well. Those two compete quite heavily. Purple roller being a little bit bigger. Franklins are shouting now. Sweetie, the most beautiful bird ever, you say. It is very pretty, isn't it? I like to talk about it as if you gave a child a colouring in picture and you allowed them to choose the colours. That is what the lilac-breasted roller is. I mean, oops, off he goes. You wouldn't have ever come up with that mix-mash of lilac with white and green and blue and turquoise, and white, an amazing sort of accumulation of colours. There's debate about the national bird of Botswana is either the lilac-breasted roller or the Kori bustard. I wasn't able to get a clear answer when I was there. Some people said one, many others said the other. But it is the national bird of Kenya. Okay, round the block we go. There was some Franklin shouting in there, but it wasn't the kind of shout I'm listening for. Is that a wildebeest? Moham, it's actually quite warm now. I'm about to derobe myself. But there we go. It has some tracks of a wildebeest. And, well, there is one wildebeest, another one about to cross the road. Little herd of wildies. It's called the blue wildebeest, also known as the brindled gnu. Let me just move up. I've got another one in the road there. Lovely little family that we have hanging around our open areas. Although now they are moving. Hello, Mama. Little youngster there was only born in December. Incredible how quickly they grow, isn't it? But to get back to Marianne's question, the temperature's definitely increased. And it's definitely warmer than it was yesterday. Jackie, they look the same colour as the grass, you say? Well, they're actually, I suppose they are getting to that colour as winter draws on. That's not really the idea. Wildebeest to be sort of lost in the numbers rather than in the camouflage of the grass. But I see what you're saying. They are definitely blending in. The adults are much darker than these youngsters. Oh, this is such a good spot. The whole family is on its way now. The oxpecker is catching an Uber, Emma. A red-billed oxpecker. When the oxpeckers fly off like that, you might have heard them. The wildebeest jumped a bit. Oxpecker's a bit of an early warning system for them. Okay, well, we're going to continue on with these wildebeest. Send you back over to Rowan, who I believe has left his cats.
So we decided to, let them be, let the two little youngsters sleep. One on a termite mine, the young male didn't move from his game path at all. What we actually want to do is go check the last lion tracks again. I want to make sure which direction they went. So maybe this afternoon, quickly have a look in that area and actually see which pride we have on and beyond Ingala. And then, of course, which direction they have gone. And also have a quick look at Inyala female and the cub a little bit later on. But so far off, magnificent morning. It's warmed up quite a lot. As Steve has said, I don't have my gloves on. The beanie's gone. Still wearing 5 layers, but that would come off very soon. But wow, what a magnificent morning. With that little female, some of the crested francolin went around onto the other side of the termite mine, and she just quickly turned around as well, and they didn't even know at her. So we left her still looking at those crested francolin. Poor birds. Imagine this afternoon we get there and there's just feathers. Then at least we know exactly what happened. Oh, sorry. Odie, can you relay that question to me? Emma, sorry, I think we might be going through a bit of a dippy signal area. So I got Arch, yes? Okay, Arch is asking, will the two siblings split up at some point? Of course, Arch, they are solitary animals, so yes, they will split up at some point. Usually at the age of about 2.5 to 3 years old here on Anbian Ingala. So the female, or actually the one that we saw on the termite mine, she would end up sticking around on Anbian Ingala. She'll get a part of her mom's territory and then establish her own little territory inside that and grow and grow and grow. Whereas the male will most probably be kicked out by his own dad, and yeah, it's quite likely that after 2.5 to 3 years we'll never see him again, which is why we take all the opportunity we can get now. But yeah, they'll definitely split up. They're not like lions that form a pride and stay together for their entire lifetime. Arch leopards are known to be solitary animals, except when they are young. It's quite sad. I'd love to have another relaxed male like that on Anbian Ingala. But I'm pretty sure wherever he goes, that property will get the naming rights and they'll attach a name to the young leopard, which is now just known as the Tswalu young male, having his mom's own name. Okay, so far none of the lion tracks came this far. So we are actually going to check from the northern side back south and see if we can pick up on any of those. And this morning was very, very cold, so they could have stayed active for a longer while. I mean, the leopards only stopped being active really at 22:09, 8:30. Which is a nice thing about winter time, winter safari, is a lot of your more nocturnal animals, things like lions, hyenas, leopard, they tend to stay more active in the morning for longer with the cold temperatures. We haven't seen a single elephant today. It's funny enough. We have been hearing them though. Okay, so while we try find lions, or lion tracks rather, we're going to send you back over to TAYLA, who just left hers.
Moved on because all things settled down. We'll have a quick scan. I mean, it's not a great view. I just want to show you what I'm looking at. But we're basically looking up on top of that rocky outcrop. And maybe we can zoom in a little bit. We're looking for a leopard with a cub, or a klipspringer, which is a type of antelope, the rock jumping antelope. And there is a pair that live up here, but I've been searching for them every time we come through here. We've seen them a few times, but it's a huge rocky ridge and that I've sort of told you about. I mentioned it quite recently. There's another little opening. I thought that they would be outstanding sunning themselves. I mean, we keep talking about how cold it is. I'm sure you're all sick of it. But the reality is that we're going to keep talking about it throughout the whole of winter. Especially me, I'm a whinger. Okay, let me just search as we go through here, because it'd be so nice to show you a klipspringer. They're like fluffy dakers, but not really. They're not. I'm trying to just describe it. They're quite small. They've got like sort of long shaggy hair. Kiki, I think all animals, their coats slightly thicken up a little bit, but not anything that you can sort of really notice too much when the cold weather comes along. See, this is such a nice gap through here, but we can't see any of those klipspringers. Apologies for not looking at all of you. I just want to focus my attention to the rocks so that I don't drive past the antelope that I'm looking for. Why can't you be out here? One afternoon we had such a nice view and then it ran away. Okay, if they're not on those rocks, don't worry. There's another set of rocks up here. This is Rock Central. Nothing here, no leopard. This is actually where the leopard was keeping its cubs, so we're searching for that too. Do you know what I am going to try and show you? Can you see those aloes? Gert, must I go forward? Can you see them through there? Back. I'm waiting for Gert to shout stop. Okay. There is a brightly colored flower that you can see. There they are. Center in the top of your screen. They're quite far away. By that marula, just to the left of the marula. Ta-da! No, up, you were there. There we go. There they are. So just on the left-hand side of the screen, there are some bright orange flowers. They look like it's some sort of aloe. I don't know if we get krantz aloes up here. Oh no, we're not on them anymore. Go to the left a bit. There we go. Can you see them? Just to the left of that marula. There they are. So they're all growing there. I haven't actually walked up onto the top of this particular ridge to go and investigate, but I shall do that at some point. But there is some kind of aloe growing here. And it's a pity it's so far away, because the amount of sunbirds that I'm sure are hanging around on them must be spectacular. And I have told quite a funny story before where I was told that I was the worst birder ever when I was training to be a guide. Tough love, but it did me a world of good because I'm very competitive. And because I couldn't identify this one bird, and again, I've told the story a few times, it was completely black, it had a red eye, and it had a fork in its tail, which screamed fork-tailed drongo, except for the fact that its head was orange. It was feeding on the bitter aloes, the aloe veras that were growing in the Eastern Cape, and all the pollen had covered its head and confused me. So that's my tale. But lots of birds will be feeding on the lovely nectar and all the pollen. There's something there. It looks like maybe a white-bellied sunbird. You can see it just moving around. It's so difficult because it's very far away. But perhaps if you've got your heads right up to your computer or TV screens, you may be able to see its white breast. And from over here, it does look like a white-bellied sunbird, which is quite nice. So there'll be lots of little birds hopping around in this area. But sadly not what we were looking for. No klipspringers. We'll have to keep trying. Next time. Shall we carry on? These rocks. This is actually where we first saw the lionesses. You remember that first day we put lions on camera for you? They walked down from below up onto this rocky ridge, and then they were clambering over all of these things. It was quite nice. There's a few rock figs also growing around here. I'm sure if you sat here for long enough, the reptile life would be out of this world. And the elephants enjoy it here too. They come and break all the trees down. They've been feeding around here quite a bit. I'm just looking to see if I can find any reptiles. There's something. Can you see it just there, Chad? Where's to turn my key off? It's very camouflaged. Let me start. Not where we are. If you go pan to the right slowly. Okay, so you've got that tree in frame. Yes. Zoom in center frame for me, please. There we go. You've got it. If you keep going on that very angular rock. Okay. So there we go. If you find focus, can you see it? See those rocks in the middle? There's a little reptile. Go up a bit. What are you? A skink. There it is. It may be a common skink. Looks like a common skink of sorts. Just warming itself up on these rocks. Yeah, not so much else. I actually thought that they'd be covered with all sorts of things, but not today. Is it a... Getting nice and warm. Okay, well, we're going to carry on, see what else we can find for the last few minutes of the show. Dylan has finally unfrozen. I suppose I should have said he's thawed out. Let's go see what he has got for you.
So apologies, we just had some glitches with our signal and that. The meerkats aren't out yet, so we think this female's actually had her pups, which is going to be super, super, super exciting to see. So we're just going to be watching this space for a while. This is just really, really good news. And we don't know how many pups she could have. I mean, well, we know how many she could have, but we have no idea how many she would have had this time around. I think the last time she had pups, she had 4. Of which 2 survived to adulthood. So this is going to be really cool to see. But in the meantime, I did a little bit more digging. So from these scraggly, wispy little things above ground, those tiny, I mean, that's compared to my fingers, look how thin those are. Tiny little things. Look at the size of these roots. And obviously, I mean, I wasn't going to go dig through to the other side of the planet there. But look at the size of this. And what's interesting is on these, and you would think here's a huge underground stem. Wow, it must be great for little burrowing animals like mole rats to eat. And yet there's no signs of any kind of feeding on these. So these roots are super high in tannins, very, very high in tannins, which makes a lot of these plants unpalatable. So your underground herbivores like your Damaraland mole rat, which is a common one that we get here, very, very difficult to see, unless there's been heavy rains. But they don't even feed on these things. They will gnaw on them occasionally. This little plant here, but I'll get you a better specimen. This one's quite a little bit worn. This one here, which is the stem of this plant, called the Gemspa cucumber. It looks like a big spiny melon. Not like Mel. In fact, we have Mel with us, but she's just sleeping in the car at the moment because it was really cold this morning. So that's Sama melon. So she's just resting in the car. But this one and that Sama melon is what the mole rats love. These Elephantoriza, they don't touch these things. And just interestingly, the scientific name is Elephantoriza. The genus is Elephantoriza, which means an elephant-like root. Rhiza from rhizome, and elephanta from elephant. And you can just see, well, I've never seen an elephant that looks quite like this, but, you know, in terms of, you know, the thickness of the stem and the dark grey colour and that, and that's where the scientific name comes from. Yeah. Cricker, these are huge, and like I say, I mean, I haven't dug, this is probably, at best, I'd say about 1/4 of the way down, of the distance that this one, these roots will actually extend down into the ground. And the adaptation that this is environments that are really harsh in terms of frost and fire. There's all sorts of adaptations. Jean-Andre, if you look at this tree over here, you can stay where you are there, but you see how thick and corky this bark is. Very thick and corky, and there's actually old fire marks on this tree. So that's one strategy that trees can use to survive fires. They can get this thick corky bark that'll get flaked off in patches, but normally they can survive fire by doing that. But then you get these little guys, these lovely elephantorizers that we've been looking at, and they just say, well, no, bugger that, I'm not going to stick my above ground parts above ground, I'm going to go straight underneath. And that's how they actually get away from cold and fires. And if you look at the total mass of that plant, the sheer size of that plant, what they're putting above ground is next to nothing. And I just wish, well, going into summer, then I'll be able to show you the flowers that they get, the absolutely stunning flowers. And probably, I would comfortably guess, I'd say, for a 2-month window, 6 to 8 week window period, it is probably the single most important food plant for honeybees that we get in this area. Honeybees in this environment are kind of thin on the ground. It's a very, very harsh environment for bees in terms of aridity, but these are very, very, very important as a honeybee food plant. So, that's interesting. I will cover this whole up. No harm done to the plant, and we didn't find any little creatures while we were digging down there, so all good. In the meantime, head back over to Rowan and see what his cat's up to, and we're going to stick it out with the meerkats. Good night, little plant.
So we actually found now where the lines are crossing back here. So I had to reverse a little bit just to show you this track. But so here is the line track heading straight across that road. So you can see one track here, one track there, and then straight through. Actually quite a nice game path, but then it takes you right into the Timavati River. So we know exactly where to start this afternoon now. Don't laugh at my long socks. I never wear long socks. It's just in the morning it's actually very cold. So I've decided to pull my socks up, as my mom would say. There you go. Beautiful. Righty. Let's keep going. Check if the Nyala female is still here. It shouldn't be too far from this area. Hopefully the lions didn't walk past there and steal her carcass. Sounds like all the viewers are giggling at my long socks. Well, between Nikki's short shorts and my long socks, I'm glad we're providing some entertainment. On a morning like today, Nikki would most definitely have... Sorry, Emma was saying we are definitely the most fashionable out of all of the guides at the moment. I'm very glad Steve, Trishala and TAYLA can't hear you. Those are hyena tracks. Oh, where was I going? That's such a nice thing to say, and then I now forgot about it. Okay? Oh, right. On a cold morning like today, Nikki would have most definitely been wearing 2 pairs of shorts. Nikitos. I think he is doing a walk somewhere in the north of the reserve today. Poor Nikki. It should be quite fun to figure out which pride this is this afternoon. I mean, it'd be great to show you Mbiri Pride. I know we haven't shown Mbiri, we found Mbiri Pride, but in an area where there was absolutely no signal. And so where we are now, the signal is actually perfect. And so if they are on the property and they are here, we could see them this afternoon, although it could be Birmingham Pride as well. I don't mind either or. I love both these brides. Both of them are absolutely stunning. Mbiri Pride being a slight bit smaller and no youngsters. Talf is asking, isn't it quite hard to track at this time of day? Talf, for now, you know, the sun is there, so it's not too bad yet. Give it at 12:30, 1 o'clock, when the sun is right above you. That makes it quite a bit harder. But for now, it's not too terrible, Talf. I know in the morning when we just leave camp, if we start off by driving west, so away from the sun, that's when we struggle most. Because, of course, the sun's behind us, so the shadow of the vehicle is blocking all the tracks. It's actually very, very difficult to see. Just keeping an eye out on all these trees. Sounds like Dylan has buried all the tubers, so we're going to send you back to him on Tswalu Kalahari.
So here's my handiwork. These are the tubers that we dug out, well, the tuber that we dug out over here, and the one over there, just to show that we put everything back as it was. I can't promise that all the grains of sand were in the right sequence, but I tried. And yeah, so, and it's important, you know, if you are ever going to be looking at stuff in nature, taking stuff out, you know, you should really, instead of digging a hole, dig a hole and then try to put the stuff back again. Yeah, I think too often it's just easy to go out there and you kind of like utilize resources, but you're not looking at the impact that it may have. So it's good, just if you're doing these kind of things, just be sensitive about how you're doing it, why you're doing it, you know. And then, yeah, it's totally fine. And you must just imagine the extent of digging that's taking place out here on a nightly basis. Things like aardvark, which Jandre and I, now that we're hoping that some of our issues are, communications and tech issues are sorted there. We're going to be pushing with all we've got for aardvark for everyone. And so those animals are going crazy every night, digging like mad, massive burrows, little feeding holes, and hopefully we'll be able to keep our fingers crossed and holding thumbs that we'll actually be able to find some for you. James just asked, do honey badgers dig? Honey badgers, I think second in this environment, second only to aardvark. Honey badgers are phenomenal diggers, and they actually are, but we can chat about it again when we're looking at aardvark. There are kind of anecdotal accounts of badgers actually chasing aardvark and digging them out of their burrows. So that's quite an issue, but we can talk about that when we get to actually see an aardvark, and we'll like I say, we'll push for that for you. Yeah, anyway, no luck yet with the meerkats. I think that with that female that was as heavily pregnant as she was, she's probably dropped those pups now, which means that she could be underground for quite a while. So there's no rush there, but we'll keep tabs on it and our meerkat habituators. But again, I just want to say a big thank you from Jandre and myself and Tswalu